morning, everyone, and welcome to the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis. We're at 7 o'clock. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. With Brooke Grimsley and Danny Mack and Matthew Rocc, I'm Randy Carricker. A beautiful day so far in St. Louis, Mo. It was fun to walk outside this morning.
Oh, it was gorgeous. It was better than yesterday where we did have to send the chopper up, Dan, because it was a second alert weather day.
Oh, yeah.
Today, it's beautiful.
It's a golf day today.
I was thinking this morning that I have, and I love you guys, but I have trouble waking up sometimes for a radio show because it is work, but I have no trouble waking up for golf.
Yeah, it's funny how that works, isn't it? 6:30 tee time. The dew is still on the grass, and let it rip. Have a little fun.
For those who couldn't see on the YouTube cameras, Randy, for whatever reason, did air quotes when you said work. What do you mean by that?
Well, here's the thing. When I come in and I'm with you guys, it's like playtime. So I used to, we have time here because the Cardinals got rained out yesterday. Play a doubleheader today, 2:40 first pitch. But I used to tell BT, when BT and I were doing the show, it was BT and DeMarco and I and Brad Barnes. We'd be here in the studio in the afternoon, and I said, my life was like a 9-year-old during the summer. So I would get up, I would have breakfast, I would go goof around outside, either ride my bike or play outside something, come home, eat lunch. Then I'd go back and goof around with my buddies, and then I'd get off, and I'd play some more, either ride my bike or play more golf, and then when it got dark, I'd go inside. My entire life was basically a 9-year-old kid during the summer, and I never knew what day it was.
Did you also have snacks?
Oh, yeah.
Lots of snacks. Capri Suns, orange slices.
Orange slices all the way, yeah. So, my Capri Suns were a little different. They came from Mobile on the Run. But, yeah, that's why I say work when I say that.
In quotation marks.
I like how we never grow up, because when you're a kid, getting up at 7 a.m. for school on Thursday versus getting up at 7 a.m. to watch cartoons on Saturday, it's a completely different bag. We never change.
So right. You're right. Life never changes. So anyway, it's a beautiful day. Enjoy the beautiful day here in St. Louis. The Cardinals do play a doubleheader. Sorry, I coughed on my little thing there. I'm so excited. Cardinals and Tigers, 2:40 double, and a real doubleheader. I love the real old school doubleheader. It's not one of those day-nighters where they clear the stands and bring the group back. No, it's what I did when I was a kid, when I would take the Redbird Express from Northwest Plaza, and it cost 50 cents round trip. I'd take and it was brought to you by our friends at Metro back in the day. Take that down to the ballpark. It was a regular doubleheader, so it was either $1 for the bleachers or $2 for general admission, which were in the upper deck. They were the top 7 rows of the old round Busch Stadium. And we always did general admission for $2 because by the third inning, we were down in the 10th row behind home plate because there was nobody going to games in the 70s. I was 13, 14 years old, and my parents were letting me do this. Wouldn't let me do that today. But it was so much fun to watch a real doubleheader. It was 2 for the price of 1, literally, and it was my entire outlay, if I wanted it to be, was $2.50 for two Major League Baseball games.
Well, you have to because of the balanced schedule. So the game postponed yesterday because of weather, and it's going to be Kyle Gibson and Steven Matz on the mound today for the Cardinals, and then Jack Flaherty for the Tigers in Game 1, and then the dreaded to-be-determined will be the pitcher for Game 2.
And Dan, as you know, following the Cardinals for years as a kid and then as an adult, TBD is always tough on the Cardinals.
It is. TBD has always been someone that you just don't have a lot of tape on. TBD has been a star for many years for many teams.
Yeah.
TBD comes out of nowhere, and all of a sudden, that's a problem.
Owns the Cardinals.
It just owns the Cardinals. It'll be interesting today. You had 40 minutes between games, a traditional doubleheader, and would Ollie tend to leave his starter in Game 1 a little bit longer maybe than he would normally, just because you're trying to save the bullpen today, and then I think you have a day game tomorrow? Is that correct?
Yes.
And so, you're going to get a lot of baseball, 3 games in about a 24-hour stretch. So, see how he plays the bullpen in at least Game 1. The other part, too, is Helsley, Kittredge, Romero, how often they go to them in 2 games. We know Helsley's 1 game. Would he have to push it? That's something that, that you think about going into a doubleheader if you're a manager.
And they're going to have an extra player. So who do you guys think will be the extra guy added?
I haven't seen Zack Thompson and where he's at in their rotation, nor Andre Pallante. So when you're just sent down, you can come right back if there's an emergency situation or a doubleheader. So you get to add the 27th man. I would imagine it's one of those 2.
I was thinking Pallante, actually.
Yeah.
Because of his effectiveness against lefties, and you can stretch him out a little bit. He can give you a couple of innings. I would think that would be interesting.
And Dan, you talked about this. You were all over the velo with Zack Thompson, and I'm sure you saw the comments from Ollie Marmol mentioning that Zack Thompson lost some weight.
I noticed that right away. Yeah, he looked like a different guy.
He did, and he looks skinnier. So did you think that was one of the factors that affected his velo?
Could be. When guys lose weight or they put on weight, sometimes their mechanics get out of whack, and I would imagine that's what they're working on right now. Unless he's hurt, you don't just drop 7 miles per hour on your fastball.
Right.
That's very rare that something like that would happen. So maybe getting his body in sync with his motion and getting his mechanics right is something to look at. To your point, Randy, the Tigers have a 640 OPS against left-handed pitching. So that's 22nd in baseball. Pallante has reverse splits, which would make some sense if he comes up.
Yeah. So let's get him up here. Let's do it. Well, up there to Detroit. I'm looking back in the day, back in my day, back in your day, 1982, September 17th, September 18th, and September 19th. The Cardinals went to New York. This was a World Championship season, 1982.
Doubleheaders, weren't they?
Doubleheader, single game. Opening game of the doubleheader. Eric Rasmussen makes his triumphant return to the Redbirds with 7 innings. He allowed 2 runs. And a guy named Bruce Sutter came on through 3 innings to get the save in the opener. Okay. Next game, the second game of the first doubleheader. The Cardinal pitcher is Steve Mura. He goes 5 2/3. Doug Bear, who kind of backed up Suter as the closer, he goes 3 1/3 for the save in the second game of the doubleheader.
Where's Jim Cott in all this?
Okay, let's get to game 3.
He's coming.
Game 3. This is the first game on Saturday. You've got Forshee going 7 1/3. Bruce Sutter went 3 the night before. He goes an inning and 2/3 in the first game of the doubleheader on the second.
And we're talking about Ryan Helsley. Is he available for maybe 2 innings?
Yeah, right.
Maybe 2 innings today.
Second game of the second doubleheader. Cott gets the start, goes 3. Then Jeff Lottie comes out of the bullpen to give the Cardinals 6. And Jeff Lottie was... He was Gio Gallegos on that team. And he gives you 6 to finish that game. And then, and by the way, the Cardinals swept this series. And then the finale on Sunday, Stuper goes 6 1/3, and Bear comes back after going 3 innings 2 nights before, and he gives you 2 2/3.
I think you have to look at who's your long man. If there is one in the bullpen, I guess Matthew Liberatore would be the guy that you lean on to say, all right, man, one way or another, you got to get us 3 innings today. But one way or another.
After he went
Sunday.
3 2 days ago?
Yeah.
Can you?
Yes, you can.
Maybe
you should be able to.
You should. But maybe that's why a guy like Pallante comes back, too. Because theoretically, he should be able to give you 3.
And he could wear it, too. And just say, one way or another, good, bad, indifferent, you're going to make sure and give us innings some way, somehow.
I know who you want to see.
And who is that, Randy?
Sem.
Oh, Sem Robberse.
Yeah.
I do want to see him, but is it too soon for that?
Is he on the 40-man? If he's on the 40-man, it's not too soon.
No.
Let's find out.
That's somebody that you just bring up and start his clock and say, here we go.
Like you say, let it rip, right?
Let it rip.
All right. Brooke, you're going to check his game log?
I am going to. And also another update today, just something else to watch for. Dylan Carlson will start his rehab assignment in Memphis today.
DC3. He's kind of like a CP3, except in baseball.
They need some help in their outfield.
Yeah,
their outfield is not producing, and that includes Lars Newpar, who is off to a very slow start. So they need to find some kind of bat, some kind of offense out of their outfield.
The Nutty Neuters of Newt Nation have assembled, and they are behind their man.
They are, always and forever. But at the same time, he does have to produce, as Dan says.
Yeah, you gonna follow him when he's hitting 139?
No, probably not.
Okay.
It gets a little bit quieter the assembly does,
we're not as
Dan.
nutty. What do you got for us, Matthew?
The Holland Hurler, as I'm calling him, is in fact on the 40-man roster.
Okay. I'm going to come up with a Sem Robberse song. You're going to love it. Last night in the NHL, the Panthers eliminated the Lightning 4-1. 6-1 was the final in the game. I compared the Lightning to the Golden State Warriors, and I think that this is the end of two concurrent dynasties, one in the NHL, one in the NBA.
And because the window is closing.
Window is closing.
That door is shut.
Yeah, it is. John Tavares, I'll tell you this story in a second, but John Tavares last night may have played his last game for the Lightning, and he's a free agent, 34, been a great scorer. I don't know why or how this happened, but I have a T-shirt, a Blues T-shirt at home with Tavares 91 on the back.
Why would you have that?
Not Tavares, Stamkos, Steven Stamkos. I get all these 91s confused. I don't know why I have. It was on clearance for like $2.99 at Target, so I have a Stamkos 91 Blues jersey.
You only wear St. Louis garb, though.
I know, but it's a Blues. It's a Blues one. It's not Lightning. It's Blues with Stamkos 91 on the back.
So why would they have Stamkos on the back?
Somebody screwed up. That's why it was $2.99.
Maybe it was Fanatics.
That's why it was $2.99. Yeah, good point.
But maybe they were foreshadowing. The Blues need a number 2
They
center.
need a number
He's a
2.
free agent. I've got a Stamkos 91 jersey, and I bought it, by the way, when Vladimir Tarasenko was still a Blue. So somebody was thinking. So
Somebody messed up.
Should I wear the shirt or just bring the shirt into the studio tomorrow to
You
foreshadow?
can just bring it
I'll
in
just
so that we
bring it
can
in.
see.
Okay, good.
And I do remember during the Blues Stanley Cup run, did you see some of the knockoff stuff that they came? Because, of course, they have to prepare for the championship if the Bruins would have won. And so you could see Bruins Stanley Cup champs merch that was around.
Brooke, after Game 5 of the 1985 World Series, Cardinals were poised to win. They were up 3-0 in the series, right? Or no, 3-1. 3-1. And the Royals win Game 5. And so we're still up 3-2. But on the way out of the stadium, World Champion Cardinals T-shirts and World Champion Cardinals banners. It was a bad omen. I've got a...
Usually they donate that, though, the team that loses.
Yeah.
So it does go to a worthy cause.
Yeah, right. But somewhere in Nicaragua or something
exactly.
like that. By the way, I have a 1984 Champions Cubs cap at home.
Leon Durham right through his legs.
Gatorade.
Yeah.
Somebody spilled Gatorade on his glove and he couldn't open it. Not good. Okay, last night in the NBA, we're getting all kinds of fun facts here on the show today. Celtics obliterated the Heat 102-88. I don't know how the Heat even won a game without Jimmy Butler, but the Celtics are rolling. They're going to win their first round series. The Thunder, fun team. They swept the Pelicans with 97-89. Pels didn't have Zion, so they weren't going to be that good either. Oklahoma City, Matthew, I want you to weigh in here. They could win this thing. They could represent the West. It's a new look now in the NBA.
Yeah, especially when you think about what they're going to have to do. They're either going to beat the Timberwolves, the Nuggets, it's looking like, and they're one of the few teams that has multiple defensive stoppers, a lot of springy young guys. You know, Chet Holmgren's a monster who's going to get second in Rookie of the Year, but he's an absolute player already in his first ever playoffs. And then you have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander who can get you 30 any night.
And they have a commercial if you aren't aware of it. I wasn't until Matthew told me. Nuggets beat the Lakers 108-106. And the Nuggets win that series 4-1. And speaking of windows closing, the Lakers window has closed.
That's what I was going to say. It feels like the Lakers are at a crossroads right now.
What do you do with LeBron?
He
extend him
won't tell
3
you.
years? Do you bring his son into the fold to make sure that he stays with L.A.?
I think, and he's one of the 5 best players in the league right now. But I don't want that guy running my organization anymore.
You've had enough?
Yeah, I think I have. Yeah.
They don't. They want to keep him. They said that is like priority number one, making sure that he finishes his career as a Laker. Interesting to me.
To see that. He's entertainment. People are going to go see LeBron. Now, I've always wondered this with Bronny Jr. Do you really think that he wants to, as a player, just want to be given a job just because his father keeps saying that over and over again?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure. I feel like LeBron, I know that LeBron has spoken out about this before, but I feel like it was LeBron that put the pressure on Bronny to be able to come into the league. And so now, even if he does make it to the NBA, which he didn't do great last year in his college career, it's going to be, well, because your dad got you the job.
And he's in the transfer portal and may come to the NBA. If his name is Bobby Jones rather than Bronny James, is he still just sitting on the bench at USC or maybe in the transfer portal because of minutes? Does anybody know who he is?
Can you imagine if you're the Lakers, you're down a man? He's never going to play.
No.
He won't play unless they put him on the floor in blowouts with his dad on the floor, which would be, for me, that would be entertainment. That would be cool to see.
Yeah.
Does he deserve it, though? That's debatable.
No, he doesn't deserve it. He wasn't even the sixth man. He was the seventh option for Andy Enfield at USC. He wasn't good enough to get on the floor at USC.
And that's what I'm saying is that if you're a young player like that, do you even want that? Because then he'll never hear the end of it.
Well, and just think about what happened now. It's not like things didn't work out for Michael Jordan's kids because they got good scholarships and they got educations, and one wound up with a heck of a girlfriend. But they, would Michael's son have dated Scotty's ex-wife if he wasn't Michael's son?
Probably not.
Okay, I'm just being real here.
There's something weird going on there. Some psychologist needs to look into that.
Yeah, maybe. But anyway, you need to take advantage of your opportunities is my point. And Bronny James, I hope he takes advantage of his opportunities. He doesn't need a scholarship. He's going to have more money than he can ever spend. But I also don't think from a basketball perspective, like you say, Brooke, it would make sense for him to go to the NBA and just sit on somebody's bench as a 12th man.
Yeah, also Brooke's point is how he's treated inside that locker room. Now, LeBron, I think, would make sure that everybody treats him with respect. That's for sure. However, guys kind of get in the corner and are like, are you kidding me with this?
Exactly.
Are you kidding me that this guy should be in the NBA? No way.
And there's always going to be somebody who's going to say, and it's going to be true, hey, there was another guy that should have made our team rather than that guy.
Like, there's a guy in the G League that is a buddy of theirs and saying this guy can absolutely play, and he's taking a roster spot, which will upset many players, I would think.
Yep.
From the 3 and 4, when LeBron James retires, what jersey is he in?
I wonder if they do that, but it's got to be the Cavs, right?
That's what I think.
I think so.
It's not the Lakers, and he did win 2 championships with Miami, but it's got to be the Cavs.
Hometown.
Yep.
Won a championship, broke a curse. I think it's got to be the Cavs, too. And he's still in his, not still in his prime, but he's still a top 5 player. Back then, he was undoubtedly the best player in the league. And a lot of times you look at when a guy is the best player in the league or when he wins a championship, and he did both.
Yep. By the way, great news to report here on the opening drive on 101 ESPN. I wasn't even aware of this until right now, but Marcus and Larsa spotted holding hands, working things out.
Dan's like, I'm
Just,
over this.
now
Didn't
you know.
they just break up recently?
Yeah, but they're working things out. They realize
Just
that they need each other.
somebody in this relationship.
They were
This
meant
is
for each
awful.
other from the days they were born.
She literally was there for when he was born, probably. That's so weird and creepy. There's so many things wrong with
See,
this.
the thing is, she said she didn't like him anymore because he didn't have any ambition, and then she looked in the mirror and, well.
So coming up here on 101 ESPN, the draft is complete now. Which NFL team has made the biggest improvement from the start of the offseason until now? We'll bring you that here on 101 ESPN. All right, the transaction season in the National Football League is pretty much complete, and with that being the case, with free agency and the draft being over, we thought we'd take a look at the rosters and try to determine who has made the biggest move during this offseason, who has been the smartest and turned their team from what was lesser to more. And you don't have to go from, I'm going to go from good to great with mine. So what are you thinking, guys, as you look at the moves during the offseason?
Well, of course, I have to go with the Tennessee Titans. No, I'm just kidding. Just
pretty
kidding.
Good moves.
They're in my list.
They actually are.
Yes,
okay. They actually made some improvements. So I will give you that. But really, the one that has improved the most to me is a year ago, the Texans were one of the worst teams in the NFL. And the way that they have just really transformed this team and this franchise behind a young, fun quarterback in CJ Stroud, who's super talented, of course, winning NFL offensive, Rookie of the Year. And then you have Defensive Rookie of the Year and Will Anderson. D'Amico Ryans has really instilled a culture of fun and competitiveness, and I think it has a lot to do with C.J. Stroud. Now, they lost some people this offseason, with Devin Singletary being one of them, but the additions that they have made, they are going to be stacked again going into this season. So they add running back Joe Mixon, they add linebacker Azeez Al-Shire, and then wide receiver, who's a wild card here, is Stephon Diggs. What version of him will you get? That's the big question, because we saw that he disappeared last year with the Bills, but we know when he is there, he can be very, very talented. So I like everything that they did this offseason. They replenished the defensive tackle depth as well, added in some guys. They also re-signed Dalton Schultz and then wide receiver Noah Brown for year 2. So I like everything the Texans did this offseason.
I'll go with your Tennessee Titans. I like what they did. This would be my second team. My first team was Houston, and you just went through wonderfully well what they did. But the Titans, they signed Calvin Ridley to play opposite of DeAndre Hopkins. I think that was huge. They signed 2 new corners. They got running back Tony Pollard. He signed kind of a two-headed duo with Tajay Spears. And they also went offensive tackle in the draft. 7th overall is J.C. Latham. So I look at what the Titans did and improved what they needed to improve, without question, their offense.
Okay, I've got 3 teams here. One of them is very simple, and I don't even have to talk about players. But Jim Harbaugh going to the Chargers makes them good, and they're going to be competitive this year. They're going to be a good team this year because that's just how Jim Harbaugh go. Then I've got a couple of the NFL Blue Bloods, and I was talking to CD about this yesterday. And yes,
Pittsburgh, yep, he's my list too.
Oh, yeah.
There's no doubt about it. They have rebuilt the left side of their offensive line. They get Roman Wilson in the draft. They get Troy Fautano in the draft. They added Isaac Seumalo from Philadelphia, and then they drafted Zack Frazier. And one of the problems they've had over the years in Pittsburgh is they've never really replaced Pouncey effectively, the centerpiece of the offensive line. So having Pouncey replaced finally is going to make a big difference for them. And then they added Patrick Queen, an undrafted free agency. You take from the Ravens and add a really good inside linebacker to your team. But the team I think that is scariest for the rest of the league is the Green Bay Packers, because last year they had a group of young receivers. They had different leading receivers in September, October, November, and December. Each of them was a second-year player or less. So their young receivers are going to get better. They revamped their running back room. They replaced Aaron Jones with Josh Jacobs, and then they drafted Marshawn Lloyd over the course of the weekend, and they added to their defense too. They added Preston Smith from Washington to be a pass rusher, and they added a couple of safeties, and safety was huge for them. Xavier McKinney in free agency and Javon Bullard in the draft. The Packers were in the divisional round last year and were close to being an NFC championship team. The Packers are going to play in and might win the NFC Championship in 2024.
And that's why the Falcons even said that they followed that model with Kirk Cousins and also adding in Michael Penix Jr. Isn't that the model that you think most NFL teams should follow? Because it's working for the Packers. They figure it out every single time. I don't know how they always do it, but it seems like the formula of having a veteran quarterback, being able to teach your younger quarterback coming in so they don't have to deal with that pressure, because not every single one of them is going to be like what C.J. Stroud was with the Texans this past season.
Yeah, and Brooke, by the way, I should mention, I didn't even mention Jordan Love getting better and better and better and better. But the thing is, and this is the positive about Atlanta and why I like what they did, you have to have a good quarterback to draft the young developmental guy. And they've got that. If I had a quarterback that was in his early to mid-30s, sometimes it doesn't work out. Remember when the Broncos took Tommy Maddox, and that actually got a coach fired because Elway got mad. But if I have an established quarterback that's 33, 34, 35, I'm going to do that.
Exactly.
If there's a quarterback out there that I love, like Atlanta loved Michael Penix, I'm going to do that. And the Packers have made that work to perfection, and that's one of the reasons, because they've got a marinated Jordan Love ready to ascend to the top level of the NFL.
You mentioned Pittsburgh. They were my third team, but you didn't even mention Russell Wilson or Justin Fields.
Right.
That's kind of the wild card for me with this team.
Yep. They had 3 bad quarterbacks in the room, got rid of all of them, and replaced them with 2 people that have at least, well, one who's done it in the past and one who has way more ability than Kenny Pickett or Mason Rudolph, or I don't even remember who their third guy was last year. But they've turned over their quarterback room, and that's another reason that they should be better.
Kind of surprising we haven't mentioned the Chicago Bears.
Yep.
They've got weapons all over the place on offense. I like what they did, obviously, in their draft with the wide receiver, and obviously getting a quarterback, which they needed. But again, a first-year guy, whether or not you're the number 1 overall pick. I mean, look at Bryce Young and what happened to him last year with Carolina. That is a wild card, too, but they have weapons, and a lot of them, with the Chicago Bears going into next season.
Is it because we've seen this story maybe time and time again with the Bears?
Well, yeah, and I don't mind the Aroma Dunze choice, but I sure wish that they had a really good offensive line there. I think one of the problems that Justin Fields had in Chicago was that he really wasn't protected particularly well. And when you've got a young quarterback, whether it's Fields or whether it's Trubisky or whether it's now Caleb Williams, you need to protect him. And not that the Bears didn't draft any offensive linemen, but they don't have a stud offensive line there. And I think you need that, especially when you have a young guy like William. I mean, you've seen quarterbacks get destroyed by a bad offensive line. And it was a bad offensive line 2 years ago. It was better last year. I think they have room to improve in Chicago.
Exactly. I think Rocc has another interesting one, because we saw a dynasty, what was once a dynasty, and an era end for this organization.
Yeah, it's the New England Patriots. You get Gerard Mayo in, a good young head coach who everyone loves up there. He's been steeped in the organization for a long time under Belichick. You get Belichick out there, it becomes stagnant, that's clear. And then bam, you get your franchise quarterback. You get 2 new wide receivers in the draft, including the other one from Washington. I keep like Jalen, who's a pretty splashy player, a little bit bigger than a Dunze, a different player. But I mean, you get those guys in there. Hopefully, you get an actual full season from Kendrick Bourne, who's actually a solid wide receiver. And all of a sudden with Drake May, he has options. Hunter Henry's a solid tight end. They have a good offensive line. They just drafted another tackle in this past draft. They have pieces all over the defensive line. They just locked in Christian Barmore for a pretty good extension as well. So, I mean, they got pieces on the defensive backfield as well. So they have a lot of stuff for a young head coach, and they just completely revamped their entire offense. I think you got to like what the Patriots are doing.
And you replaced a head coach who had essentially gone 83 and 101.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you imagine if Tom Brady comes back as the QB coach, which has been reported?
Yeah.
You know, most everybody then would say, if the offense is struggling or a QB situation is a struggle, Tom Brady, what do you think? Let's bring him in.
Wow, he's going to be busy. He's going to be calling games. He's going to be helping run the Raiders and quarterback coaching the Patriots.
And he's getting roasted this
Man, that is a busy fall.
Yeah.
The roast should be good.
I'm excited.
I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah,
It's going to be great.
it really is.
All right, there you have it here on 101 ESPN. Speaking of the National Football League, all right, there are some former Cardinals out there that are doing pretty well in baseball. So the question is, which NFL team or which miss of the offseason has been the biggest miss for the Cardinals? That's coming your way on 101 ESPN. Hey, folks, tomorrow it's going to be May, and that means Mother's Day is right around the corner. And I know we're always looking for something that Mom doesn't have. Well, I've got the perfect gift for you for Mom. If you're looking for something easy yet incredibly special that shows your mom how much she means to you, how about a Sound Story? Sound Story is a professionally produced hour-long conversation in which your mom is interviewed by your choice of one of our professional interviewers, including myself or Tim McKernan or Anthony Stalter. And now you and your siblings can go in on a gift certificate for your mom and get her a Sound Story at mysoundstory.com. And now until Mother's Day, enter the promo code ESPN and you'll get 10% off that Sound Story gift certificate. Purchasing that certificate couldn't be any easier. All it takes is a few clicks at mysoundstory.com and you'll have given the most thoughtful gift your mom will ever have received. Preserve your mom's life story, her smile, her laugh. Save it for your family to enjoy for generations to come. Just go to mysoundstory.com and enter the promo code ESPN to get this Mother's Day special of 10% off a gift certificate for Sound Story. That's promo code ESPN at mysoundstory.com. Sound Story, for you, for them, forever.
This is Rocc with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals have a doubleheader today after yesterday's game was rained out. It will be a 2:40 first pitch and then a 5:40 first pitch for the two games today. Kyle Gibson will go in the first game. Stephen Matz will go in the second game, with the Cardinals flipping those after yesterday's postponement. Yesterday in the NHL Playoffs, the Panthers finished off the Lightning with a 6-1 victory for a 4-1 win in that series. And the Golden Knights tied that one up with a 4-2 win. 2-2 is that series tied up. In the NBA playoffs, the Celtics over the Heat 102-88. They take a 3-1 lead in that series. The Thunder finish off the Pelicans with a 97-89 win for that series in a sweep. And the Nuggets over the Lakers 108-106, and they win that series 4-1. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
The Cardinals play a doubleheader today in Detroit, and wherever the Cardinals are in the standings, we can always find that they have produced or developed or had good players that have gotten away. And when you think about misses from the past offseason, players that the Cardinals let get away, either via trade or free agency, you look around and there's a lot of former Cardinals that are dotting the leaderboards. Tyler O'Neill, among non-qualified players, leading the majors in slugging and OPS, third in on-base percentage. Jordan Hicks of the Giants has made 6 starts. He's allowed 6 earned runs in those 6 starts. Jordan Montgomery has gone 13 innings in his couple of starts, allowed 4 earned runs. He struck out 7 and walked 1. So based upon the big picture here, what the Cardinals are doing and what is causing them to not be successful, or what you think would help them the most, or just what you think the best player is. What's been the biggest miss for the Cardinals from guys that they had from the beginning of last season on that are not here anymore?
Without a doubt, to me, it's Jordan Hicks, because look at the Cardinals' current starting rotation. You need homegrown arms. That's something that you always need, especially younger ones. And this is why the Cardinals' current starting rotation is one of the more expensive ones in Major League Baseball, because you're having to go outside of your organization to acquire that talent via free agency. So having Jordan Hicks really would help this starting rotation, not just now, but also in the future. And the biggest question, I think, moving forward is if he continues to do well and he stays as a starter in the Giants organization, the question will be, why didn't it work out for the Cardinals? Because they did give him opportunities, but then he was moved back to the bullpen.
But you went out and signed Sonny Gray, Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson. So I don't necessarily agree with that. I think Mo did a pretty good job with the starting rotation. Now, the question would be, you have to have more out of Michaelis and Matz moving forward. But Gray, Gibson, Lynn, Kittredge, Fernandez, a 2.58 ERA. And at some point, you got to give him credit for that. The one that I look at is the Tyler O'Neill effect with this team, just because of their lack of offense. Now, I fully understand why he is not back with the Cardinals. It just didn't work. He was on the IL continuously, and when you had a player of his talent not playing every single day, that's a real problem. And they have scored 3 runs or less in 17 of their 28 games. And I think if we look at what's wrong with this team, it's the offense. Now, you can have some gaps in your pitching, which we're gonna see that today potentially with Gibson and Matz. We'll find out. But overall, the team is hitting 200, so they need some kind of offense from somebody. I don't know where it's going to come from, if it's Arenado or Goldie, but man, they need some offense in a big way.
I don't disagree with that take, but I'm like you, and this is kind of unfair because of what we are perceiving is going to happen with Tyler O'Neill. I just don't think that Tyler O'Neill was going to happen here.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, right. But Jordan Hicks, he wanted to be here, and I think the Cardinals just mishandled him. And by the way, Montgomery would be a great call here, by the way, because if you have Montgomery and Gray at the front of your rotation, then if you sign Montgomery when Texas did, and you have that big 4, and you don't have to deal with friend of the show, Steven Matz, but then all of a sudden you have that rotation, pretty impressive, pretty good. But for me, Jordan Hicks is kind of the shining beacon of the Cardinals' inability to develop young talent, and especially young pitching. And here you send out, you can't find a role for Genesis Cabrera, who, by the way, is off to a terrible start in Toronto this year. But you've had other young pitchers that you have sent out. Flaherty is having a really good year this year. His overall numbers are good. But they talked so much about Jordan Hicks as he came through A-ball. You never developed him at AA. You never developed him at AAA. He skipped AA and AAA to make it to the majors as your closer. I kind of think that he, to me, is the big miss because he is the example of the Cardinals' inability or lack of desire in terms of patience to develop a young pitcher.
Didn't you feel, though, you had to have a given with innings going into this offseason? So I don't think they wanted to be on the outside looking in on some of these guys and waiting. I think that they had to go and say, we're not sure how this is going to work out with Hicks. He's probably going to prolong this a little bit, and we better get on the guys that we have out there potentially to bring them in.
Yeah, but that's what makes it a miss for me, is their inability to identify him.
I think they looked at him as a reliever, and that's the difference.
Right, and the Giants obviously didn't. And, hey, the Giants have veteran coach. Brian Price, who's been a major league manager. He was a really good coach for a long time. He's the pitching coach in San Francisco. So you've got different animals. You've got a guy who was the pitching coach at Duke as your pitching coach, and you've got Brian Price, who's been around the major leagues for a long time.
And the thing is that we continue to talk about the Cardinals' inability to really develop pitchers because they've been searching for a while to have that mainstay in the starting rotation that is a homegrown arm. And you had that potentially with Jordan Hicks, and it was a deal that I feel like you possibly could have worked out to keep him here in St. Louis. As you mentioned, Randy, he wanted to be here. I don't doubt offensively that this team needs a lot of help, but with Tyler O'Neill O'Neill and that whole situation, things soured with that relationship right after arbitration. That just really turned, I believe, and that's what started things with him and his view of the organization.
And it's interesting to look back, and they've had a lot of bad luck. Bad luck with Flaherty and his shoulder injury. Bad luck with Alex Reyes and all of his injuries. Dakota Hudson got hurt. I don't think Dakota Hudson was ever the same after his Tommy John. But they've run through a lot of young pitchers. Think if they have a healthy, and what they were supposed to be, Alex Reyes and Jack Flaherty for 2 or 3 years. What a difference that would have made to have those young guys at the front of your rotation.
If they hit, are we even having this conversation?
No, we aren't even having this conversation.
And that's where I'm going. I need to see offense, and that's where the Tyler O'Neill effect. And you guys heard me say this from day one. I thought he would have a monster year. It's a contract season. It just felt like it wouldn't work here in St. Louis. And I got to be honest with what we're talking about with Hicks. How many organizations said, we're going to make him a starter? I bet it was split, if not more people saying he's a closer instead of a starter. So the Giants, to their credit, really thought outside the box with him.
Yeah, and a smart move on their part. So it's interesting how many teams can do this? How many fan bases can say, okay, we've got a group of guys, and we aren't even talking about Rosarena and Garcia and Marcelo Ozuna, who left as a free agent. How many organizations have that many players out in Major League Baseball? And Dan, I think you had the stat either last year or the year before about how the Cardinals, there were more Cardinal products in Major League Baseball than any other franchise.
Correct, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And so we go back to, I think, evaluating at the Major League level. And it's not, you could say developing to an extent, but when you have the talent under your umbrella in your house, are you able to recognize deficiencies and positives and take them to another level? And I think that's up for debate right now with this team.
One thing that was pointed out to me, and this is just, I don't know what it has to do with anything, but it was pointed out to me by a former Cardinal that in the entire organization, and now you've added Daniel Descalso, from the top of the coaching staff at the Major League level to the bottom, to the lowest rookie league, you have Daniel Descalso and Willie McGee and Bernard Gilkey. They're the only 3 people with appreciable Major League playing time among coaches in the entire Cardinal organization.
I wish Jason Isringhausen was part of the Major League staff.
I do too.
Yeah.
And Izzy, by the way, I'm talking about full-time guys. Izzy is a roving instructor.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this. I'd love to see him in the dugout more.
Yeah, me too.
I think that his background of dealing with injuries, dealing with off this, how to be a pro off the field, and then being a closer, man. It's a high pressure situation. All those things, to me, lend itself to see him in that dugout. And there's something about when you have played at that level and the respect level that you get, and the fact that these guys have been there, done that, and players seem to gravitate towards those type of guys.
No doubt.
It's just the experience factor, right? Because you can say, oh, okay, well, this is a situation, as you mentioned, where they've been through that and they can walk you through that rather than maybe just throwing some analytics at you. Because we talked about that before, too. This isn't just a Cardinals issue. This is the whole Moneyball era where you have a lot of analytics thrown at these players, young players even, and they're trying to figure out what exactly I need to use, what is useful to me in this situation. And sometimes it's just the experience factor. It's like when you guys intern. Dan, when you worked with Randy, you learned probably more from Randy and all the experiences that he could talk to you about, more than anything else that you could get from a textbook.
There's a lot of things I could say. But yes, among the people that I worked with, Randy was probably he was number one in helping me, and I am certainly appreciative of that. So that's one thing. So thank you, Randall. The other thing is that it takes 2 to tango, and I just wonder what's the appetite for, let's say, guys that have played the last 5 to 10 years and had a decent career. And I mean decent, let's say 3 to 5 years. I mean, it's a nice career in Major League Baseball, and the money that they made. What's the appetite for these guys to get back in uniform and say, why am I going to do this for under league minimum and spend the hours that I have to spend to be a coach?
And I look at things from my perspective, and you're 100% right, and there's very few that do. But I always use the Chris Carpenter example, right? If you're a 25-year-old pitcher and you were a baseball fan as a kid and you say, man, when I was 12 years old, I watched Chris Carpenter against Roy Halladay. That was the coolest thing ever. But how many kids were really watching that playoff series?
And even even having a guy come back for, let's say you're going to have Chris Carpenter, Jason Isringhausen, and name any other player that you want that played a long time in the big leagues, just to have them back in uniform and around on homestands, let's say. and then they're talking to the players on the phone when they go on the road. Those kind of things matter. And so I'd like to see more of that with this team. And I bet they're getting some of that, certainly with Isringhausen they are, but I'd be wondering a little bit who else is there that they lean on with that type of experience.
Every young pitcher that the Cardinals have at the major league level should have an audience of a half hour or more with Danny Cox.
He'd be good.
Yeah.
That's old school.
Yep.
He'd get right in your face. Now, times have changed, and you got to baby players kind of along the way. But I just think, like with Izzy, and here's the other thing, with guys that have been developed, Izzy's had his hands on a lot of those kids that have made it to the major league level. So it does at least lean itself to say that, a guy like Izzy certainly can help at the major league level.
Can I give you two more just right off the top of my head? Chris Carpenter and also Yadier Molina, who is a part of the organization, but we still haven't seen him yet. I would love to see. He has the title, so I would like to see him around because, you guys saw it firsthand. The way that Yadi was able to work with not even the young catchers, but also the young pitchers, that was so valuable.
And he was only here 2 years ago, so there's that built-in respect factor that people know what he did.
I got to go to Albert, too.
Oh, yeah.
And I got to say, you want to manage at some point. Let me tell you something that we think can help your career. Get in the dugout and watch. Be a coach and watch. Get the experience that you think that you may need, we believe that you need, no matter how great of a player you were, and he's a future first ballot Hall of Famer. But if this is what you want to do, you got to get in dugouts and see how it all works. And I think that's important for them, too, in the growth of what they want to do.
Cards with a doubleheader this afternoon. If they sweep it, they can get to 500. Coming up next, we've got Tioli. Text in 314-399-9646. 314-399-YO-HO. Take it or leave it coming your way on 101 ESPN. Hey, folks, do you need to sell your home, but you need time to find your next home or to build that new construction that you've only been dreaming about? What if I told you that you could sell your home, but stay in it for up to 12 months while you found your next home? If this sounds like your situation, there's only one agent that you need to meet, and it's Gloria Liu. Gloria Liu is going to do a great job. She's from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and here's why you should call. Because she's able to guarantee the sale of your home in writing because she already has the buyers, thousands of ready buyers, and With over 20 years of buyers in an exclusive database looking to buy in your neighborhood in your price range or their price range, that's how Gloria nets you the most money and creates the highest demand, many times with multiple offers, and that means more money in your pocket. And she can stretch things out so you can stay in your house for a while if need be. Gloria's number is 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888. She's the only person I would trust to sell my home, and she should be the only person that you trust to sell yours. Gloria Lou at GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Take it or leave it.
Want to say something? Want to put it out there? If you like it, you can take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
Kids, it is time for Take It or Leave It. Yesterday, the Kansas City Chiefs announced that they have re-signed Travis Kelce. He gets a 2-year, $34.25 million extension with KC that makes him the highest paid tight end in the National Football League. Take it or leave it, Travis bought dinner last night.
Oh, I'm going to take
I'll
it.
pick up the check.
Yeah, for just him and T-Swift?
Yeah.
I think why not?
Yeah.
He's got plenty of money to do it. Also, for the better part of his career, he's been one of the most underpaid tight ends in the game of baseball. So celebratory dinner, I got this one, T Swift. Don't you worry about it, baby.
Have you heard of all of those rookie dinners, too, that they do in the NFL? I wonder what one night, if he just took out some of his teammates, how much they would spend.
Be 15 grand, I bet.
Upwards of 50.
You think it'd be that high?
Yeah, because what players do, like DeMarco would always ask the server, hey, what's the most expensive bottle of wine that you have? And the server would tell him, $10,000 bottle of wine. And he'd say, I'll just take that to go. Now, when you had Kevin Carter, and Chris Long used to do that because the Rams defensive line room was all first rounders and they all had tons of money. So Chris, and you do it by position group, but Chris, would always take advantage of situations with the rookies.
Take it or leave it. The Lakers will draft Bronny James.
I'm going to take it.
I'm going to take it, too. They're going to try to make LeBron as happy as he can be and kind of force their way to making sure he stays in LA.
And by the way, LeBron did say early in the season, Bronny could play for us right now. So let's see. Let's see what he can do.
Take it or leave it. Dylan Carlson will be the Cardinals center fielder in less than a week.
Take it.
Ooh, less than a week. I'll take it for sure.
Little rehab assignment with their lack of offense from their outfielders. Cardinal outfielders are last in average slugging percentage, home runs, and runs batted in, and it's by a wide margin. They need to have more offense, and maybe they catch lightning in a bottle with Dylan Carlson.
Let's see. Former Raider wide receiver Mike Siani is hitting 108. 108.
He can bunt, though.
Yeah. Victor Scott is hitting 085. Scott is a 274 OPS guy. At least Mike Siani is a 395. Siani was pretty fun. He was with Fred Bolitnikoff in that crew. Cliff Branch. You guys remember?
Matthew, what do you have?
You're so funny.
I was going to say, I was thinking about the Chris Long story, and I realized that he did that to Michael Brockers, Aaron Donald, and Robert Quinn.
Yep.
In like 3 out of 4 years, he's like, oh, please keep drafting these guys in the first round because I'm going to eat their bonus alive. He did it 3 times. What a genius. Take it or leave it. Both players in their prime. You're taking Scott Rowland over Nolan Arenado.
It's a great question.
That is a
I'm
really
going to leave
good
it,
one.
though. I'm taking, and I loved Roland in his prime. If everything else is equal defensively, I think Arenado's a little bit better offensive player.
Yeah, and it would have been interesting to see if Roland doesn't hurt his shoulder twice, what the numbers may have been, and then the conversation is Scott Roland is better. So basically you're saying right now then, Randy, that Nolan Arenado is a Hall of Famer.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
I will take that.
It's
every day.
close.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, though, because I don't know. I wasn't in the room enough. But I know that Scott Roland was a highly competitive player and was obviously part of the group, the MV3.
Which is 20 years old.
Yeah, that's crazy. Who do you think is a better winner?
Well, I have to look at Arenado's postseason numbers, and they're not great. So, I that's a tough one because I don't like labeling guys and saying, well, you're not a winner.
No, they're both winners. I'm just saying I'm trying to, because I don't know. I wonder who I'd rather have in my room, I guess is my question.
Scott Roland, I don't know enough about Arenado behind the scenes. I know that he works hard. He's a leader by example. Scott Roland was that as well. Scott Roland it would shock fans, way more vocal than you might anticipate.
Really?
Oh, he got after players big time and led by getting in their face. And again, you wouldn't see that. It was behind closed doors. But if guys weren't putting out in terms of effort, he was all over them.
And not only that, but he'd get after the manager. And that's a pretty big time manager to get after.
Yeah. Those two had their conflict at times.
During the 2006 playoffs. Yikes. All right, Matthew, sorry.
Take it or leave it. Lamar gets his first Super Bowl before Mahomes gets 5.
I'll take that. Yeah.
I'll take that too.
Really? Okay, why are you guys taking that?
It's just so unfortunate that everyone's like, yeah, Lamar will get 1 before. And when Patty's sitting at 4, that's just it's rough. Yeah. It's not exactly. It's kind of like, I mean, it is kind of Brady Manning a little bit.
Okay, so I got something for you. Matthew, you'll like this because you like old school stuff, right? 1972 Raiders. Fred Biletnikoff led that club with 48 catches. Mike Ciani was second on that club with 45.
72 goes to the post?
I think it might have been, yeah.
Okay.
Let me make sure.
Casper?
No, Casper wasn't on that team, so no, would not have been. Tight end for that squad was a guy named Bob Moore.
I got to Google when he goes to the post.
Played in all 14 games.
Take it or leave it. If you consistently root against the greatness in their prime, i.e. Mahomes, Brady, LeBron, you shouldn't get to romanticize their career after it's all said and done. Learn to appreciate history while it's unfolding in front of you.
Take that.
Take it. I like that.
Oh, well, no, I disagree because people like different stuff. I had lunch with a couple of guys that visited us in studio yesterday, and they said that they were tired of the Chiefs because the Chiefs won too much. And I don't get tired of that. I don't get tired of excellence. But some people do. And you can appreciate things afterwards and say, man, I really missed out on that. And I think that, unfortunately, is a lot of what is happening here. It definitely happened with the greatest show on turf. But it definitely has happened with the Cardinals. I don't think people... and it's because we're hyper-focused on our franchise. But we don't realize what we're dealing with here in the last 25 years with the Cardinals.
I think that you can appreciate the greatness. And I love actually watching Patrick Mahomes and what he's able to do because he's so great. I don't get tired of watching the Chiefs. I get jealous, if anything. I wish the Titans could do something like that. And I feel like a lot of other NFL teams feel the exact same way. Now, the Patriots with Tom Brady, I understand that he is one of the greatest of all time, but there was just so much controversy also surrounding him and the team. Deflategate, all the different stuff going on behind the scenes. Spygate. I mean, there's the list goes on and on and on. It's kind of hard to completely ignore that. Now, him getting away from the organization, I think helps his case even more so when you look at his full body of work.
I think, guy, we were talking about him earlier, Jason Isringhausen. You don't appreciate what he did and then start looking back at the numbers. Trevor Rosenthal's another one. He had some incredible individual seasons here in St. Louis. I'll give you another one for single season. It's just a single season and didn't appreciate it at the time. And this is a name from the past, Mitchell Boggs.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
He had one great season where literally, statistically, it was one of the greatest dominant shutdown seasons by a Cardinal reliever ever.
Guys, I remember coming home one time. I was with the Cardinals for some reason in Cincinnati, and it was during the greatest show on turf era, so it was either 99 or 2000. Maybe 01. Maybe probably 01. And so the game is going on while I'm flying home, the Rams game. I get in my car, and I'm hearing the post-game show, and I hear like 3 calls in a row. Oh, it was a really rough day today, man. I hope we can get it. They played the Giants. Hopefully we can be better next week. Hopefully we can. And Scott Warman was doing the postgame show. He goes through a commercial and says, Rams win today 43-6. Yeah. And I'm listening to the callers thinking, well, they lost the game.
Do you think we appreciated McGuire when it was in the middle of his heyday?
I did, but...
I did too.
I think St. Louis did. I think we loved him. Yeah, because it was something so unprecedented. I think we did. Think of all, and Brooke, this is something that would not happen in 2024. Mm-hmm. When McGuire would step to the plate, you'd see all these flashes from cameras. The photos were unbelievable because everybody in the crowd had a flash camera. It was and
so
they don't exist anymore. Some of the coolest photos ever.
You're telling me people, instead of watching the moment happen, were watching it through a camera lens?
Yeah, they were.
That would be it.
Why don't people just appreciate what's happening in front of them these days? It's insane.
Everything.
God.
Yeah.
What about getting a photo that lasts a lifetime, and that photo is with your kids?
Wow, that's a great... You know what, Danny? That's a great point. It's a fantastic point. Maybe people should stop complaining when people have their phones out during big events.
I always tell people when they have...
Well, if it gets in the way.
I always, right. Sometimes these things get in the way. I always tell people when they have their second kid, I said, don't stop taking pictures. Because I think we have a tendency to do that after the first one. There's a million pictures of the first kid, right?
Yeah.
Second kid, not so much. And then third and fourth. You have third and fourth.
Yeah, I got third and fourth, and they got put to the side. I hate saying that, but they did. We're like, yeah, been there, done it.
The baby book has more missing pages.
Exactly.
Hey, yes, Matthew, one more thing.
These aren't take it or leave it, but just people are very mad about the Roland and Arenado thing because there's a consensus here that Nolan Arenado just doesn't have it. He doesn't have a winning mentality. And Scott Rolen had that because he has a World Series and Nolan doesn't.
Well, let me make this point.
Weird day on the text line today.
Scott Rolen had Albert Pujols on his side.
Yeah, thank you.
Nolan Arenado has for 1 year, but Scott Rolen had Albert Pujols in his prime. It did make a difference.
He had Goldie, though, MVP season, too.
Yeah.
So that's something to throw out there. But the MV3 was just awesome. Mm-hmm. And that whole team in 2004, Renteria, others that were great offensive players certainly helped at that time.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Pitching staff he had also on the roster. I mean, come on.
But you can make that argument, but I think we fail to realize that we went for 11 years here saying, well, if we can get number 5 up to the plate, we got a great chance to win the game.
Yeah.
Who else was on the team?
Big pressure situations, you just felt like he was going to come through.
Yeah.
And more times than not, he did.
He did.
Yeah.
Coming up on 101 ESPN, the Cardinals are stretching out Zack Thompson and Andre Pallante in Memphis. Is there a method to their madness? That's next on 101 ESPN. Hey, I want you to know about my friends at Together Credit Union and their exclusive City SC debit card. It really is fantastic. And Together Credit Union is the only place to find this official fan debit card. It comes with special perks like a free lifetime Buy City Plus membership, in-stadium discounts on food, beverages, and merchandise, and most exciting, with your exclusive City SC debit card from Together Credit Union, express entry into City SC matches. As a special bonus, as if you need any more, Together Credit Union will also send you a commemorative print of City Park Stadium, the home of St. Louis City SC, while supplies last. How do you get the card? Easy. Open any personal checking account online at togethercu.org or stop by any of the Together Credit Union's 14 local branches and choose the St. Louis City SC debit card at account opening. There's no cost for the City SC debit card, so don't wait. Sign up today and show your pride for City SC. Membership eligibility required, federally insured by the NCUA.
A fresh perspective on the day's top stories. It's the Opening Drive's Fresh Take.
In St. Louis, your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. The new athletic director at the University of Missouri, Laird Veatch, is going to join us at the bottom of the hour. The Cardinals have sent down both Pallante and Zack Thompson, telling us they're going to stretch both out as starters. And some of us say, well, why the face? I mean, you've had these guys throughout spring training. Why the face? WTF. You've had these guys through spring training. Why would you send them out now to stretch them out as starters? And here's my thought process, kids. You do have pitchers, starting pitchers that are 34, 35, 36, and to 37. And you really can't count on those guys being there for the whole season. So why not take the opportunity now to identify the couple of guys that are in your major league rotation that you feel like could add something to your major league rotation if you need some help, i.e. Pallante and Thompson, and have those guys ready for when, not if, somebody from among Gray, Michaelis, Lynn, Gibson gets hurt.
Are you insinuating that maybe even Matz?
Maybe even Matz. Yeah,
Steven Matz. You
that's
missed
kind
that
of an
one.
if. No, that's a win.
Well, because we saw him move to the bullpen last year for a month, and he did really well. In 16 innings over 8 appearances, Matz had a 2.81 ERA coming out of the pen. I liked him in that situation. Now, I understand the contract where you want to make that work as a starter, but didn't you guys like him coming out of the pen last season?
I thought he was terrific.
I think the way that they're doing this is twofold. And you stretch guys out potentially, notice what I said, potentially to be starters, but this gives you multiple innings where not a lot is on the line because you're at AAA, and you get multiple innings, and that's where you really can have a chance to work on things instead of just being a one-inning stopgap at AAA. That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't like how they've gone back and forth with Thompson. It's just, I think it's a different animal coming out of the bullpen as opposed to when you're starting and vice versa. But multiple innings will allow you to work on mechanics. And clearly those two mechanically a little bit out of whack. Pitches weren't where they need to be at this level. And so it's going to be interesting to see how they do this. Now, they may go down to AAA and have great success. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said the difference between AAA and the major league level, the gap is bigger than it's ever been. You know, it used to be, okay, you're at AAA, you graduate to the major leagues, not that far away. The competition is not as much as you would think, a big difference. Now they say the competition is absolutely widen the gap. And So if they go down there and have success, is what I'm saying. Is I hope it's not fool's gold, but wait to see what you have.
Might not mean as much. Brooke, to your point about Matz last year, a 4.04 earned run average as a starter, 2.81. Granted, small sample size, only 8 games as a reliever, but he has, and that's just last year, he has throughout the course of his career been more effective. His numbers have been better as a relief pitcher than a starter.
With Zach Thompson, I agree with you, Dan. I hate the way that things have been handled. And you even heard John Mozeliak talk about that last year, about how the handling of Zach Thompson, how they were going to improve that moving forward. And we talked about him losing weight. How long do you think that it will take? And I know that's going to depend on Thompson and how he performs to get him ramped back up and possibly put on a little bit more weight, get those mechanics figured out. Do you think maybe a month or so?
I think it's dependent on either ineffectiveness with your rotation or ineffectiveness with somebody out of the bullpen. The bullpen has been very good. And if he goes down there, and I'm countering what I just said, if he goes down there and shoves, then he's the kind of guy that is your 27th man today. And he's right back in the major leagues. I'm not sure that's going to happen. I do think today, and I don't know where they stand in the rotation with Pallante or Thompson, but if they're being stretched out a little bit, you'd have to think that they'd be able to give you, let's say, 2 to 3 innings today, and you may have to lean on those guys because you're going to have to save the bullpen.
And Dan, we kind of touched on this yesterday, and again, you have experience with the guy. And we talked earlier about bringing people like Chris Carpenter back. How about bringing Dennis Reyes back as Zach Thompson's nutritionist?
Sounds great.
I mean, if you
Big
lose
sweat.
Yeah, he needs that. Or just have him work with Lynn. Have him work with Lance Lynn at the restaurant.
At the restaurant. Well, that's why you send him down to Memphis. Just get him over to a local meet and 3 and get some cornbread, all that other good fixins, as they like to say down there, and he will be just fine. Now, another player that is on the rise, pitcher that's on the rise, Randy, you're laughing at that joke. It was bad. Another
effective.
pitcher is on the rise.
It's the old Pat Maroon t-shirt, chubby but effective.
Exactly, chubby but effective. It works. It's working for a lot of guys. Sem Robberse is another pitcher that you have to watch, and he is doing all the right things right now. He has a 1.82 ERA through 5 starts with the Redbirds, and he's also saying all the right things. He was on MLB Network the other day, and he was asked about who he modeled himself after growing up.
I remember from Bert Blyleven, of course, in the hometown where I was born, and I remember he's a Hall of Famer, and that's one big important thing. I modeled myself. Me and my dad used to look up pitchers, Hall of Famers, see how they were throwing, how they were pitching, and how they were able to last that long. And he taught me my mechanics, looking at like Greg Maddox, Nolan Ryan, Roger Clemens, those guys. And he basically taught me my mechanics, and it's still sticking with me.
So you like to hear that because you want to hear the old school names that he's modeling his game after. How soon do you think it is till we see Sem Robberse?
What do you think, Randall?
He's got great stuff. I would think that the Cardinals, because he's succeeding down there, I would think that he'll be more on the fast track than some of the guys they've drafted. People like McGreevy and Graceffo. He seems to be further ahead, at least from a productivity standpoint, than those guys.
I think the one that you have to look at is Matz. And Matz, his last couple of starts has been ineffective. I would give him, though, time, unless it's so ineffective to where you just can't roll him out there every 5th day. We're going to see more today. And I look at Michaelis. I would not move Michaelis to the bullpen, but no. Matz has been effective coming out of the pen, and it's an option as they move forward, for sure.
By the way, Robertson seems to be more... He's from Holland. Yeah,
he is.
Yeah, and he loved Blyleven. His size is more like Greg Maddox than Clemens or Ryan. So hopefully his mechanics and his effectiveness are more similar to Greg Maddox.
I hope his curveball's like Bert Blyleven.
That'd be nice, wouldn't
it? Yeah, be a pretty good curveball if you brought him to the major leagues, and he's got Bert Blyleven's curveball.
Yeah, so let's have that. That's today's Fresh Take here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, Nolan Arenado might have his attitude change right next to him. That's coming your way on 101 ESPN. Mentality is a great local clinic that gets you back to where you were physically in your 20s. If you're missing out on the physical stamina you had to get through walking 18 holes of golf or getting through a workout when you were in your 20s and 30s, and you want to get that back in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, go to lowtusa.com and find out what Mentality does. They've got a little section on their website, how it works, and you can go in, schedule a consultation in one of their great clinics, either in Chesterfield or South County, and their board-certified physicians are going to find out exactly where your testosterone level is, and then they're going to develop a custom treatment plan with an FDA-approved supplemental testosterone treatment that they'll apply every week, and you will get back to where you want to be. And you just get your meds, or you can hop into the clinic every single day, and you can get that treatment as well. There's so many St. Louisans, and they're listed on the website that have had great success with Mentality, and you can too. They'll work with your insurance company to make sure that your out-of-pocket expenses are as low as possible. But you can get right back in the game and be the guy that you used to be and that you want to be with Mentality. Get started at lowtusa.com. Grimsley, Danny Mac, Randy Carricker, the opening drive on 101 ESPN. And was it Matthew that was perusing the Ken Rosenthal piece yesterday and found this great quote from Nolan Arenado about Masyn Winn at The Athletic? And if you read Ken Rosenthal's column from yesterday, it goes through all of this. But Arenado says about Masyn Winn, to be honest, playing with him makes me want to step up my fielding. He goes hard for everything. Not that I don't, but after last year, the way I fielded, I see him getting after it. And I'm like, yeah, man, I need to get back to that. He brings energy. Watch him. He's constantly talking to the pitcher. Let's go. You got this guy. Nasty pitch. I'm like, man, I used to do that when I was a young player with the Rockies. I kind of slowly got away from it. Now I'm like super quiet. His constant energy, you just feed off of it. Some teams might think he's talking trash, but he's really just talking to the pitcher all the time. It's pretty cool. That's when we talk about youthful enthusiasm. That is the essence of what we're talking about right there.
And that's what you're wanting with your young players, is that they're supposed to be a spark. And everything that Masyn Winn is doing right now, offensively, we know that they are struggling. But Masyn Winn currently leads the Cardinals in batting average. 311 is what he's sitting at right now. And also his arm is as advertised. He is so talented, and he's the Cardinals' answer for the shortstop that they've been looking for. Having him in that permanent role, he is going to be their shortstop for the foreseeable future. And the arm is so good. I don't know how you get past that. I mean, it's just a laser. He is the Kingwood Cannon. Much to the chagrin of Justin Turner, he isn't just that shortstop. He is the shortstop for the Cardinals and the future of this organization. Don't you guys believe he has Gold Glove written all over him?
I don't know if it's going to happen this year because reputations.
Not this year, but in the future.
Yeah, I would say in the future for sure because of his range and his arm. I love guys that bring a bolt of energy to a clubhouse, or, you know, like Newbar is a guy that brings a lot of energy to this team, a young player that does that. Now, he's off to a slow start. Newbar is hitting 139. It also comes with putting up numbers, and that gets respect right away from veterans. And you can chirp all you want, you can talk all you want when you're on the field, but if you put up numbers, there just seems to be more of a respect factor that comes along with that.
And that might be why Arenado essentially complained about the clubhouse being run over by young players last year. Maybe it was young players that he didn't think had earned their stripes in terms of being able to talk. Masyn Winn can play. He's backs it up with his words. I would hope that a veteran team would welcome players, young players that want to play like kids again and have it be a game for them again.
Well, you need that balance. I mean, look at the Rangers last year. What worked for them? They had a nice balance of young players coming in and a lot of experience that helped them out as well.
I think when you watch a guy go about his business, sometimes it is a reminder. Have fun. Get back to what you were doing before, and it's a quick reminder that, you know what, this guy's doing it right now. I need to get back to where I was, and I think there's a lot to that. And again, bringing energy and backing it up with numbers is the two things that I look at.
Now, the question that I have is, Arenado says this, and he wants to get back to it, but do Lynn and Gibson and Michaelis and Gray want to hear this guy saying, "Oh, super nasty pitch, man. You got this guy"? Do they want to hear Winn saying that?
I don't think they care. Honestly, as long as they make the pitch, I think they feel just fine making the pitch. You know what? I bet they feel pretty good about it. I think they not necessarily encourage it, but I think that they're like, I appreciate a guy that backs me up.
The thing that works also, one, doing well, as you mentioned, Dan, but also if you have a lot of respect in that room and you're respectful to others, because it's one thing if you're a young, kid coming in there and maybe you are saying all that stuff, but then you're also maybe not respectful to others in the same manner. So maybe he's also very respectful towards the other guys, and that's what works, and that's why they're okay with it.
Yeah, seen, not heard, right? From young players, just keep your mouth shut. And there is a pecking order of respect that goes along by the longer tenure that you have in the big leagues, and it'll carry more weight as he goes along and gets 1 year under his belt, 2 years under his belt, 3 years under his belt. And he's going to be a very good player, especially to your point, Brooke. If he wins a Gold Glove, man, you get ultimate respect for how you go about your business defensively.
And from everything I've heard about Masyn Winn, he is just that. He's very respectful. He shows up on time. Remember that whole Jordan Hicks and Bud Norris saga that happened during the Matheny era that led towards the end of the Matheny era, is that there was a lot going on behind the scenes. And so you can say a lot of things as long as you back it up with your work ethic and you show up every day and you're respectful to everyone.
Right. And one of the cool things about the 80s with Whitey is that they brought up an important young player every year. In 82, you bring up McGee, and you've got LaPointe and John Stuper on your pitching staff. In 83, you bring up Van Slyke. In 84, you bring up Terry Pendleton. In 85, obviously, Coleman and Todd Worrell make their way to the major leagues. Danny Cox is added during the 83 season. Every year, there was that youthful exuberance that arrived on the scene. With Tony, it was much more of a veteran team that was very businesslike. And you can tell the difference in clubhouses when you have a group of guys that have already made their money as opposed to a group of guys who are still trying to make their money. And they're closer to those Legion Ball or high school days than they are to being multi-millionaires. And I think there is something to be said for adding that youthful exuberance every single year.
I remember when Brendan Ryan was late with his spikes and Chris Carpenter had warmed up and he was late to get his position at shortstop, and Carpenter just stared at him. And then we had a makeup game down in Florida, and Chris Carpenter was on the mound, and Brendan Ryan showed up in uniform at about 8 a.m. And that was his way of, you know what, Chris Carpenter gave him the message. This is how we do things, and that's how we act as big leaguers. They were frustrated one time when Brendan Ryan showed up to the wrong stadium in New York. So there were things that Brendan did that frustrated guys, but they, believe me, they loved having him behind him because he could flat out pick it and was a very good defensive player.
He must have just gotten into a cab and said, "Take me to the stadium."
He did. That's what he did. It's exactly what he did. Unbelievable.
Pretty funny.
And the thing is when you're young, you're going to make mistakes, but as long as you don't do too much pushback and you learn from your mistakes, I feel like that's all that works out. You're not going to be perfect.
You just got to keep your mouth shut.
That's a good point.
You're going to make mistakes along the way, and players know that. But if you are vocal and you don't back it up, there's a real problem with that on the field.
I just think as a fan, though, I like to see players get excited. And not every team has that. When you have a veteran team, not every team has that excitement. It's a way of life, right? This is just what we do every single day. I love it when young guys are still excited about coming to the ballpark to play a game.
Newbar was kind of the exception to the rule. He just got into the clubhouse, and guys really enjoyed being around him. He was exuberant, still is, brings excitement, brings energy, and, players appreciate that over 162 games for sure.
Brought the pepper grinder as well.
There you go.
Sometimes you just need that. Some guys have that ability. Would you say an it factor?
It factor is totally it, yeah. And yeah.
It factor, at least personality-wise. I know offensively it's not there currently, but still.
Masyn Winn is we've talked about a guy that you pay money to go see play. At this point, man, Masyn Winn, that run he scored from first base on the double by Gorman last week was fantastic. I'm reaching that point where I would pay money to watch Masyn Winn play.
I would pay money to watch Nolan Arenado play defense, Masyn Winn to run, play defense. He's an exciting player, and I know he's a guy at first base that doesn't get a lot of fanfare, doesn't say anything wrong, doesn't do anything wrong, but I love watching Paul Goldschmidt play defense. He has saved so many runs and so many outs with his glove. And we're talking about guys that you'll maybe look back on and say, man, was he good. That's one of them right there.
No doubt.
He's Mr. Consistent. He just makes it look so easy that sometimes you don't appreciate it as much because you're just not seeing the flashiness of it all the time because he's just doing it all the time consistently.
He's boring in the kindest sense of the word because he's just so numbingly consistent. He really is.
His glove is second to none at first base.
He's fantastic. Coming up here on 101 ESPN, we're going to visit with the new athletic director at the University of Missouri, Laird Veatch, who's been at Mizzou previously. He'll join us next on 101 ESPN.
It's time for a DraftKings at Casino Queen Redbird report on 101 ESPN.
Brooke Grimsley here for your Redbird Report. The Cardinals' scheduled game against the Tigers in Detroit was postponed last night due to weather. Instead, the two will play a doubleheader today starting at 2:40. The Cardinals will start Kyle Gibson in Game 1, and Steven Matz will be the starter for Game 2. The Tigers plan on having former Cardinal Jack Flaherty on the mound in the first game of the doubleheader, and their starter for the second game hasn't been announced yet.
The Redbird Report is presented by DraftKings at Casino Queen. Play, stay, dine at DraftKings at Casino Queen.
Hey, Mother's Day is right around the corner, and Mom deserves some me time. That's massage envy time. That's right. With Mother's Day coming up, what do you get the person who gives the most? Sure, flowers are sweet, and brunch is going to be great, but you know what she'd really like? She'd like some relaxation from us, some well-deserved me time, massage envy time, to enjoy a relaxing massage or a customized facial or a total body stretch session. It's a thoughtful gift that encourages Mom to put herself first for a change. Here's what you need to do, and it's really easy. Just visit your nearest Massage Envy franchise location now through May 12th for gift cards and special Mother's Day offers. She is going to absolutely love it because as much as you tense her up, you're going to give her the opportunity to relax with a Massage Envy gift card. All you need to do is stop by any participating location, pick up the gift card while supplies last, and Massage Envy will be the gift for Mom that she will absolutely love. Massage Envy, where better begins.
This is Rocc with your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals and Tigers was rained out yesterday, so they have a doubleheader today. 2:40 pitch for the 2:40 pitch for the start for the first game. 5:40 pitch for the second game. It'll be Kyle Gibson in the first game, Steven Matz in the second game, as the Cardinals have flipped around their starters with the doubleheader. Last night in the NBA playoffs, it was the Celtics over the Heat, 102-88 for a 3-1 Celtics lead. The Thunder sweep the Pelicans 97-89, and the Nuggets over the Lakers 108-106 to win that series 4-1. That is your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American State heating and air conditioning dealer.
With Brooke Grimsley and Dan McLaughlin, I'm Randy Carricker. It is the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis. And Laird Veatch, the new athletic director at the University of Missouri, joins us. Laird was at Mizzou from 97 through 02, and he's been the athletic director at Memphis, and now he is the athletic director at Missouri. Laird, good morning, and thanks for taking some time with us this morning. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me.
We're thrilled to have you, and thrilled to have you back. How's it feel to be back in Columbia?
Well, I'm not quite there yet. I'm actually standing in Memphis at the moment. This is technically my last official day as Memphis AD, but I am unbelievably excited to get back. We genuinely loved that place when we were there. It's where, we got started. Our 3 girls were born there. We've been telling those stories, but to have an opportunity like this in the SEC with all that's going on at Mizzou and also have all the personal ties, it's pretty incredible.
Congratulations on the new job and welcome to Mizzou. And as you just mentioned there, you're coming in at such an exciting time. A lot of hype around Eli Drinkwitz and the football program. Also, the plans recently approved for the football stadium renovations. How excited are you just to get to work with this program and work on that new $250 million project?
Yeah, I am so pumped. The Mizzou momentum line that's been thrown out there is very real. There's so much going on there, and a lot of that just aligns, with me, with my background, with what I've done. Obviously I played football in college, but on top of that, just the fundraising, particularly as it relates to facility projects like that, has really been a core of my career at different places. So I love doing it. It's a lot of fun, and to be able to come there and kind of hit the ground running with that kind of momentum is another part of this special opportunity.
Hey, Laird, it's Danny Mack here. It was great to work with you at Mizzou Sports Properties. Great to hear your voice again. Congratulations. What's your first order of business when you get on campus and you start the job? What's your first order of business?
Well, it's good to speak with you too, Danny. Thanks for the connection. The first order of business is going to be getting out. I mean, I have sort of forewarned the staff that I would love to be able to be there and spend a lot of time with them, coaches, staff, student athletes right there in Columbia. The reality of it is I need to be out. I'm actually going to be. So I'm finishing up, kind of transitioning here in Memphis this week. I'm going to head down to SEC meetings the first part of the week, which sounds like it'll be interesting with all that's going on. And then next Thursday, I will be in St. Louis. So I'm going to actually get started first day back in Missouri. We'll be in St. Louis. We have the come home tour at Chicken and Pickle that evening, the 9th. And I'm going to be seeing a lot of folks there. And really that's going to be my focus, is getting out, seeing our donors, our supporters, our friends across the state, and really connecting there first, and really pushing forward this major initiative from a stadium standpoint and just all the support that we need to keep this thing rolling.
Laird Veatch, the new athletic director at the University of Missouri, with us on 101 ESPN. And Laird, it's interesting how the job of athletic director has evolved. And as you say, you have to get out and meet people, and ultimately you have to fundraise. But it seems to me, watching from afar, that football has kind of taken over the job. Not that other things aren't important, but can you talk about what your focus will be with football relative to everything else going on in the athletic department?
Yeah, there is a lot of reality to that. I haven't actually shied away from that in my kind of open remarks here. Football does drive success, particularly in the SEC. I mean, that is just a reality. From my time at Florida and obviously just in this industry overall. Football is the cash cow, if you will. If you look at it from a pure business standpoint, you have to have football success for everything else to work. And, that doesn't mean, as you said, that you don't, love and give attention to other sports and make sure they have the kind of support and resources. But from an athletic director standpoint, I have to make sure that Coach Drinkwitz and the football program have what they need to be successful, because that'll lift all boats, so to speak. I mean, if they're doing well, it positions us then to be able to invest in our other programs. We have some really good ones, but we have to have that as be the priority one, so to speak.
Hey, Laird, if somebody would have told you 22 years ago when you left Mizzou that you'd come back and you'd see these stadium renderings and you'd have a team that won a dozen games the year before, because you were there when things were not great for football, what would you have thought?
I actually would have thought it was very possible. You look at Mizzou, and there's from an athletic director standpoint, from just an administrative standpoint, you look at it as sort of a sleeping giant in a lot of ways. Sits right between two major markets. Starting with St. Louis, but also Kansas City. The only school in a large state. It's such a great, AAU institution overall. A lot of history and support. So, and that the fans there, you got to show them, right? You got to show the success. But as soon as you do, they are on board and they're passionate and loyal. So I'm not surprised that it's in a position to have success. But I would say that for me to be in this position, I would have that in particular, that part of it would have been pretty overwhelming thought to a 25, 26-year-old. But I am certainly honored and pleased to be in it now.
In conversations maybe with Eli Drinkwitz, or even with what you observed, what stands out with Eli Drinkwitz compared to other college football coaches that are out there currently?
Early on, my initial reaction, and I've said this genuinely, even on like one-on-one conversations, is that he is the ideal coach for this era, because he is a true CEO type coach. I mean, he isn't just traditional X's and O's type coach. He's extremely strategic. He's very engaged in the public piece, the fundraising piece, understands the whole big picture. Even to his willingness to sort of adjust his style and move away from play calling directly, and he's willing to think differently and to kind of embrace this new era, which you have to have. And I think that's part of the reason why you're seeing the success that you're seeing to this point.
Laird, what's your philosophy on navigating the transfer portal and NIL and how to maximize that for Mizzou?
Well, first of all, just as I mentioned just a brief second ago, you have to embrace it, right? You have to, recognize, instead of fighting it and complaining about it and, wringing your hands that it's not the way it used to be, you got to be all in. And you have to just recognize that that's the new front lines from a recruiting and a competitive standpoint. And it's one of the reasons why I was so impressed with the sort of aggressive approach that the state of Missouri took, and the alignment that took to make it happen with state officials, university leadership, curators, staff, et cetera, to align and get together, recognize that, in order to be competitive, we have to look for opportunities like that to be created. So I think that's a key piece. You have to look outside the normal way of doing things and be willing to be aggressive. And, during this time of transition and kind of transformation of college athletics, while it's challenging and hard, it presents opportunities, particularly for a place like Missouri in such a competitive, conference like SEC that hasn't had quite the level of success that some of the schools have. So it gives you a chance to maybe, pick up some market share, so to speak, and think differently and make a move that, may have been harder to do in a different era.
And Laird, the money that FedEx just provided Memphis, that is a well-chronicled story. You're talking to, right now, Mizzou boosters and alums that are driving to work down the highway, people that are predisposed to contributing to Missouri. What's your message to the sports fans that are Mizzou alums that are listening right now?
Well, first of all, we need you, and you'll find that I am very much not shy about fighting for resources and asking for support. I really believe it's like the most important thing I can do to support our coaches and their efforts is to help get them the resources. So we need them to be there, and I always start with being there. Show up, buy tickets, come to the events, because that's where we all connect. That's where the visible support is, and then the next step from there is giving and supporting, whether that's given to the Tiger Skills Scholarship Fund or giving to NIL initiatives. Obviously, we're going to have this major facility project coming up, but it starts with showing up, whether that's at the event here coming up on the 9th there in St. Louis, and connecting with our staff and asking them, how you can help. And they'll, I'm sure, make sure we do a really good job of articulating that and providing all the kind of opportunities that we'll have. Hey,
Laird, on behalf of all St. Louis fans, I want to apologize for the turf at the Dome that you guys played at. But that being said, because we're getting new turf at the Dome, I know that Desiree wanted to really connect to St. Louis with having games here. What's your philosophy about football games in St. Louis?
Well, first of all, we have to be in St. Louis. I mean, it is the number one, largest and most critical market for us. So anything we can do, whether that's events, whether that's competitive events, just being over there as a staff and reaching out, we got to come to you. And we're going to ask y'all to make the trip over down I-70 to Columbia Mo a lot. So we need to be there and be present. So, yeah, I want us to continue to be creative and aggressive and try to find every opportunity to be with you there in St. Louis.
And one more thing, because I know you've already answered this question, and Ben Frederickson wrote about it at stltoday.com, but this AD job has kind of become a stepping stone for a little while since Mike Alden left. Again, your message to Mizzou fans who believe that, Laird's going to come and be here for 2 or 3 years and then leave.
Absolutely not. I am 100% all in. My wife and I, my family. I mean, genuinely, if you stop and think about for me from a fit standpoint, not only was I there before, but I'm a Midwest guy. My wife is as well. We have family just a few hours away, and to be in the SEC, you want to be on the biggest platform, right? If you're a competitor and you're in this space, you're doing it because you want to win. You want to win SEC championships, national championships, and in order to be on the national stage, you have to be in one of the big conferences, right? And there's nothing bigger than the SEC. So I want to be here. I want to be part of it. I enjoy Columbia. It's just a great fit for us. So I truly cannot imagine a place that we would want to be at more than Mizzou.
Well, Laird, we're excited to have you as the athletic director at Mizzou. Looking forward to, again, a week from Thursday over at Chicken and Pickle in St. Charles, the coming home tour for Mizzou, and looking forward to meeting you and working with you in the years to come. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Take care. That is Laird Veatch, last day as the athletic director at Memphis and then the Mizzou athletic director.
So trying to get that relationship with Eli ramped up as much as you can. That's probably number one on his list. And as he mentioned, he's the CEO of how he runs that football program. And I think you just you kind of look over his shoulder a little bit in a good way and make sure that you keep the football coach happy and give him the best chance to win with whatever you can offer him.
I know that Eli didn't have a say in the hiring of Desiree Reed-Francois. I also know that the Board of Trustees now is pretty much on board with Eli. Not that they always haven't been, but you had to give Eli, I hope he had a say in hiring the new athletic director, whether it was giving his final 3 or putting his stamp of approval. it doesn't make any sense to have a head football coach, especially in the SEC, that isn't on the same page as the athletic director.
Well, and that's why Laird said football, and more football with what they're building. Of course, they're not going to overlook the rest of the athletics department, but if you're able to bring in more revenue, I mean, look at the stadium renovations that they're having. That's because of the success that you're seeing with what Eli Drinkwitz has been able to build. And so the money's going to keep pouring in if Eli Drinkwitz and the football team continue to be successful.
Isn't it funny how a year changes everything?
It does.
Yeah.
This time last year, people are like, I don't know about Eli. And then, you had the K-State game in which there was clock, management issues at the end. If you lose that game, the heat that he would have been under, and then they go on this run, and people are saying, boy, I hope they keep him. How are they going to keep him?
And then the thicker kicker changed everything for Mizzou football. Everything.
He Mr. Mevis.
Yeah.
He sure did.
61 yards.
He did. Cody Schrader as well. Even at the beginning of the season, the controversy with two quarterbacks, you had the battle between Sam Horn and Brady Cook, and then it wasn't exactly a quarterback battle, and there was controversy with that. Either way, it all worked out, and now things have changed in a year.
Good. Thanks to Laird Veatch for spending his time. Hey, we've got a late edition of The Fight today because of our interview with Laird Veatch, and we invite you to text in to our text line, which is brought to you by our friends at Air Comfort Services, 314-399-9646, 314-399 YO-HO.
Yo-ho.
Text in your name and the word fight, and maybe Matthew will pick you to fight me next on 101 ESPN.
Hey, it's Danny Mac on this Tuesday morning, and I want to tell you about Stewart's American Mortgage. If you're someone who is looking to purchase a home or refinance, or if you're looking to consolidate some of that ugly credit card debt, maybe you don't know exactly what direction to go in any of these things, hey, let me make it easy for you. Call Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage. He will help you every step of the way. If it's a new home you're looking to purchase, he will get you to the closing table fast. How fast? Try 10 days, and he'll get you the best interest rate possible. He also has the bagel loan that can help you out too. So you may be asking, what the heck is the bagel loan? Well, if you borrow $200,000 or more, Or if there's no underwriting fees, no appraisal fees, no title fees, no lender fees, no closing costs, that's what we're talking about with the Bagel Loan. Stuart is your guy. He makes it easy. Any questions on rates, the industry, the trends, give Stuart a call, and you can call him on his personal cell phone at 314-324-4440, 314-324-4440, or you can Google the Bagel Loan.
NMLS number 226715.
Welcome to the fight. In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Carricker.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke, Dan, and Rocc here, and it is time for the fight. And our fighter today is Justin. Justin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic.
Nice. Is this your first time facing Randy in the fight?
This absolutely is.
Ooh, okay. First timer here. Any words of advice, Dan, for Justin?
Good luck. Randy wins the majority of these, but I have a lot of faith in you, Justin, that you can make sure and take the crown from Randy, at least for one day.
Let's go for 3.
That's what I like to hear.
There we go. Confidence is key. You ready for question number 1, Justin?
Yes, I am.
Okay, only 4 Heisman Trophy winners have gone on to win Super Bowl MVP, with the last instance occurring in the 90s. Who was it? Marcus Allen, John Elway, or Desmond Howard?
Marcus Allen.
Question 2. The Cardinals stand the man at one point held the National League's Ironman record for consecutive games played. But he was passed by the Cubs' Billy Williams and this first baseman who holds the current record at 1,207 games. Is it Prince Fielder, Nellie Fox, or Steve Garvey?
Nellie Fox.
On to question 3.
Question 3. When the Hurricanes won their only Stanley Cup back in the 2006 playoffs, who did they beat in the final? Was it the Vancouver Canucks, the Calgary Flames, or the Edmonton Oilers?
Edmonton Oilers.
Jose Oquendo played every single position in baseball multiple times except for one, only appearing there one time for one inning. Which defensive spot was it? Pitcher, catcher, or center field?
Center field.
All right, let me go grab Randall. How do you feel, Justin?
Pretty confident.
Pretty confident. Okay, nice. What, Rocc? Where did you go? Rocc somehow disappeared for a second.
Sorry about that.
You dropped your pen.
Yeah,
okay.
my bad.
Justin, what's making you feel so confident? You did fly through those.
Yeah, I don't know, just a feeling.
There you go. Confidence is key. Randy's confident every single day. Randy, as some people say, have the it factor or the clutch gene, as we had discussed earlier during one of the breaks. No. Why do you sound like Eeyore today?
I don't know if I'm the clutch today.
You don't have the clutch gene. That's just that it factor. That's what you have, Randy.
Well, hopefully the it factor will kick in at some point.
Say hi to Justin, Randy.
Justin, good morning. How you doing?
Doing fantastic. You, sir?
I'm doing great, thank you. Hope you enjoy a beautiful Taco Tuesday in St. Louis.
Absolutely.
Tacos.
Mm-hmm.
Every single time you say this, Randy, then I have to have tacos later on in the day.
I'm with you 100%.
It happens. You ready for question number 1?
Mr. Giant Taco Salad Inventor. We got to play that, but can we do that? Let's find that on YouTube, and we'll do that at the end of the fight. Go ahead, let's go.
Okay. Only 4 Heisman Trophy winners have gone on to win the Super Bowl MVP, with the last instance occurring in the 90s. Who was it?
In the 90s, a Super Bowl MVP that had won the Heisman Trophy. Well, let's go through them, shall we?
Which one?
Which one did it? Well, let's do Super Bowl MVPs. 90, it would have been O.J. Anderson, who never did win a Heisman Trophy. The 91 campaign, Mark Rippon never won a Super Bowl MVP. 92, I don't think Troy Aikman ever won a Heisman Trophy. Emmett didn't win a Heisman Trophy. Steve Young didn't win a Heisman Trophy. Okay, so John Elway didn't win a Heisman Trophy. Brett Favre didn't win a Heisman Trophy. So we're in the 90s here? Okay, 91, 90. Hold on. Let's think about, O.J., 91 was Rippon. 92 was Emmett. I'll do the lifeline.
Oh, okay. All right. Marcus Allen, John Elway, or Desmond Howard?
Oh, stupid. Desmond Howard. Stupid, Randy. Stupid. Yeah.
Rocc is so menacing today for whatever
Stupid
reason.
Randy. Okay.
And hello, Heisman. Remember Keith Jackson?
Sorry, I couldn't. I had to hide my smile when he goes, Brett Favre?
Yeah. Stupid. Stupid, Randy.
Are you ready for question 2?
I'm ready. You want to hear a great Desmond Howard story?
I'm ready.
He was running the 40 at his pro day at Michigan. Or no, I don't think it was even a pro day. I think it was his agent set it up. And so a 40 is 40 units of 36 inches each. His agent made him 35 inches each yard, 35 inches. Nobody noticed.
Are you serious?
So he ran like a 4.35, but he was really like a 4.5 40 guy.
Are you ready for question 2?
I'm ready.
That's a smart move by the agent, though.
Yeah, I got him taken like 5th or 6th in the draft.
The Cardinals, Stan the Man, at one point held the National League's Ironman record for consecutive games played. But he has since been passed by the Cubs' Billy Williams and this first baseman who holds the current record at 1,207 games.
It's the current record, but it's not an active record, right?
It's not active. No, it's the reigning NL record.
Okay. I'm going to go with Prince Fielder. It's a coin flip for me between Fielder and Bagwell, and I'm going to go with Prince Fielder.
Question 3, Randy. When the Hurricanes won their only Stanley Cup back in the 2006 playoffs, who did they beat in the final?
Hurricanes of Doug Waite beat, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Oilers of Chris Pronger. I'm going to go with the Edmonton Oilers' final answer. There was always a blue in the Stanley Cup Finals back in the day.
Jose Oquendo played every single position in baseball multiple times except for one, only appearing there one time for one inning. Which defensive spot was it?
Got to go with catcher, Dan.
Is that your final answer?
Final answer, yep.
All right, Matthew, do your thing.
Our tiebreaker survives another day as we have an outright winner in today's fight. In his first ever appearance against Randy Carricker, does Justin walk away with a victory, or does Megamind start this week 2-0? Ring that bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
The Fight is presented by Golf Discount of St. Louis, with the most experienced club fitters in town. Why shop anywhere else?
Sorry, I was making obscene gestures at the camera. My apologies. Justin, I'm sorry. Randy Carricker took you down 3-1 in today's fight.
That's all right. Wish there's one more NHL questions, but that's good.
Yeah, that'll happen. I only gave you one, and that's the one you got correct. So we know where your bailiwick is. Let's go through the questions and answers. Only 4 Heisman Trophy winners have gone on to win the Super Bowl MVP. The last instance was, in fact, the 90s. Marcus Allen did in the 80s, but Desmond Howard was the one who took home the Super Bowl for the MVP for the Green Bay Packers. Of course, Elway never winning it either. Cardinals Stan the Man at one time held the National League's Iron Man record. He was passed by the Cubs' Billy Williams, and Steve Garvey actually holds the record in the National League with 1,207 games.
Steve Garvey.
When the Hurricanes won their only Stanley Cup back in 2006 playoffs, it was in fact the Edmonton Oilers. And yeah, I had fun realizing that Chris Pronger was on that roster. Completely had forgotten that. And Jose Oquendo played every single position in baseball multiple times except for one, only appearing there one time for the one inning. Of course, yesterday's trivia question said he played it all in one season. So we all know that one inning in that one game that he played catcher was in fact in 1988 to help him complete that feat of playing all 9 in one season. But that is the only time he played catcher. He played center field 7 times, and he actually went to the mound as a pitcher. How many times?
2?
Twice.
3 times.
3 times. Okay.
3 times.
Dan, help me with this. Was that the same game where they put the cheeseburger on third base for
Eric Gregg? Yes.
When and Oquendo played every position.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
So Eric Gregg was a rather rotund umpire who likes to eat, and so I think Lawless was playing third that day.
That sounds right.
And went out and put a cheeseburger on third base, and Eric Gregg, the umpire, actually picked it up and ate it.
Really?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. By the way, the first question on the Heisman's: Roger Staubach, Jim Plunkett, Marcus Allen, and Desmond Howard are the 4 Heisman Trophy winners to win the Super Bowl MVP. Justin, thank you so much for joining the fight and joining the show today.
Thank you guys very much. It was fun.
Thanks,
you,
Justin.
Sir. Great to have you with us.
Bailiwick.
Yeah.
Is that what you said earlier?
Yeah.
What is that?
It's the thing that you're good at. It's like it's your niche. It's your it's what's I can't remember what's another term. There was another term I had in my head, but it just escaped.
Right up your alley.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. It's it's what you're good at. It's your thing.
Word of the day via Rocc.
Yeah.
Now I got to figure out how to use that in conversation.
There's another one that means that, and that's like French or something like that I was going to pull out, and I'm just completely, it's like on the tip of my tongue. And
You
I
can
can't
pull out
think of what it
bailiwick,
is.
but not the other one?
Not this one. No, I'm completely blanking on what it is. Dang it.
We'll get back
Maybe
to it.
maybe I'll have it later.
You just don't have the clutch gene, I guess, is what you're saying.
Oh, how dare you?
Do I?
Oh, wait.
You do.
Hey, wait, whoa. I have the clutch gene. Thank you very much. It's just not about that.
That's so true, because if it's a salad, is it really, do you need to think about the calories? Unless you
course
put
it's
like
healthy.
fried chicken, all that different kind of stuff on there, lots of cheese.
It's a salad, isn't it?
That's so good.
Those were the best commercials.
Those were the best. Thank you, Matthew, for displaying the clutch gene there.
By the way, I thought of the other term, leisure domain.
Oh,
The thing you're good at, your leisure domain.
Oh.
Did you know?
Yeah, that was what I was thinking too, totally.
Think of it there.
I had no idea. Okay, you want a fun fact. Former Rams defensive tackle Lige Duzabel has a radio show. Number 69 in your program, number 1 in your heart. Lige Duzabel has either a podcast or a radio show. Do you even remember Lige Duzabel?
I do not.
He's
Matthew, I bet
defensive
you do.
lineman for the Bears?
No, for us, for the Rams.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Number 69 for the Rams, yeah.
I thought his name was Lester Duzable.
No, Lige. Yeah, so that'll be part of the rush hour reset coming up here on 101 ESPN.
biggest stories of the day on the opening drive with a Rush Hour Reset.
Driven by R&R Tires. Visit rnrtires.com to lock in your $20 tires deal.
The bulletin, apparently official, at 9:08 here on 101 ESPN. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Former St. Louis Rams defensive tackle Lijay Duzabel played 10 years in the National Football League. Now he is an Emmy award-winning sports analyst for CBS Sports HQ, for ESPN College Football, and he's also a host on Sirius XM. We promised that information, so now you know via radio.
That's good information to have.
Lijay Duzabel is
okay.
He's a media personality. I didn't see that coming.
I didn't either. I didn't even remember him.
Yeah, he was. Well, let's see. That was 2009. That was Chris Long's second year. I think they had figured out that he wasn't a right end. They couldn't figure it out when he told them he wasn't a right end. Once he told them he wasn't a right defensive end, that he was much better on the left side, they figured it out. They didn't watch him in college, apparently. So Chris was on that defensive front. Trying to think of who else was. It was not a stellar group by any stretch of the imagination. As a matter of fact, the group went 1-15 and caused the Rams to pick Sam Bradford with the first pick in the 2010 NFL Draft.
Well, if they couldn't figure out if he was a right or left guy, it probably explains a lot.
They couldn't figure out that same group. They took an offensive tackle named Jason Smith with the second pick in the draft.
I remember that quite well.
I remember being out there 3 feet from where Billy Devaney and Steve Spagnuolo were standing with Jason Smith, and they're just running him through like the most simplistic, non-nuanced drills. And Spag said, "He can't play left tackle, can he?"
Billy Devaney, where is he now?
I don't know, but he's probably not evaluating good football players.
He collected a pretty good amount of money.
Oh, man, you aren't kidding.
Yeah.
He worked for CBS before he came here. He worked for the Chargers. He did very well here. He was, you think he's part of them not trying to win. Actually, he was just incompetent. So we'll give him that. Cardinals got rained out yesterday, kids. They'll play a doubleheader today. 2:40 St. Louis time is when all of the action gets underway, and you'll be able to see it on Bally. And the Cardinals will pitch in the opener.
Kyle Gibson.
Yeah, Kyle Gibson against Jack Flaherty. I don't know why they've got the second game starting at 12:10, because the first game starts at 2:40, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. So the second game is supposed to start at 6:10.
It'll start 40 minutes after the first game concludes.
Mm-hmm.
Traditional doubleheader tonight.
Michaelis against Kenta Maeda. Kenta Maeda. So that'll be fun for the night game because we'll be able to sing along with that.
I'm a little concerned about Matz going into this game. Last two starts, 12 earned in 9 1/3. His ERA is near 12 in those two games. And the Tigers have a 640 OPS against lefties. Now, that's something to keep in mind. Is it the do factor, or does Steven Matz get after the Tigers? 22nd in OPS against lefties.
And you talked about it earlier about Kyle Gibson, because Steven Matz was the scheduled starter for yesterday, but then they kind of moved things around. So you have Gibby going for game one. I said Gibby. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Ruh-roh. Nobody come after me. That's just what they call him, Kyle Gibson. How about that? Big game, Gibby Jim. How about that?
I like that a lot.
That's a lot better. That won't get me killed. Anyways, so you're going to have Gibson going in game one and Matz in game two. Are you doing that because you know that Gibson will be able to stay in that game a little bit longer and not tire out your bullpen for game two?
That's the idea, and give you a chance to win game one, maybe more so than your game two starter. And I think it makes a lot of sense to put the better of the two in game one, which a lot of teams do. But it makes a lot of sense because you would think he goes a little deeper in game one as opposed to game two, and what you might get out of Steven Matz.
By the way, the Detroit Tigers, if you aren't paying attention, have scored the 10th most runs in baseball per game, and they have the 4th best earned run average in the sport, and they have an excellent manager in A.J. Hinch.
Yeah, they're not bad. This is going to be a good test for the Cardinals.
And then on the other side of it, offensively, the Cardinals are still bottom in the league in all the categories that you should be a lot better at. Is there anything that is giving you guys hope offensively? Outside of Masyn Winn, Will Contreras, I think, has done his part as well. Anything that is giving you guys hope offensively that they will be able to turn this around here soon?
The only thing I have is history. and the career numbers that Arenado and Goldie have put up. And hopefully they can just achieve something close to their career numbers. And if they do that, then that's what I'm hoping for.
If you would have said prior to the season, taking a look at the lineup and being completely objective with it, you would have said, this is a good lineup. To me, this is shocking what they've done offensively. They're fourth from the bottom in OPS with runners in scoring position. That is of concern. The other part of this, too, the outfielders. I thought now they've been hit by injury and the ineffectiveness of Jordan Walker, but last in average slugging percentage, homers, and runs batted in. And I mean, it's by a wide margin with their outfielders. That's not going to help you win games.
No, and who would have thought that Jordan Walker would get up to the start that he did for the Cardinals? But he did, and now he's down in Memphis. Also, last night, some series ended in both hockey and basketball. The Panthers eliminated the Lightning with a 4-1 series win. They win the game 6-1. In the NBA, the Thunder sweep the Pelicans with a 97-89 victory, and the Nuggets eliminate the Lakers 108-106. Denver wins that series 4-1. LeBron James, when asked after the game if it was his last game with the Lakers, said, "I'm not going to answer that question."
Well, and that's why you have the reports coming out today that they will possibly look at, the Lakers will possibly look at drafting Bronny James. That will keep him happy.
That would make him happy. And by the way, we talk about his age. He's one of the 5 best players in the league. You want to have LeBron James on your team. Now, you got to build around him.
If they extend him, gave him the 3-year max, he'd be 42 and still productive.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, he's amazing. I think we tend to, just because he's been around a long time, we tend to underestimate what he does, but he's amazing.
Can't imagine what the body feels like. And to his credit, he's taking care of his body to be able to play at this late of an age. But, most guys in basketball are hobbling around at the age of 39, and he's still explosive in what he does. It's incredible.
And by the way, in that last game last night, Michael Porter Jr. ran into Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis fell. It looked like an AC joint injury, and Michael Porter didn't hurt his back. So good for him.
Randy.
I sent that text to Matthew. I thought he'd bounce back with one. But.
You thought he's been busy on the chat today.
I appreciated that text. By the way. I mean, it was late. And I was already kind of dozing in and out. I actually didn't get to watch Jamal Murray's shot at the end of the game until this morning. But I did appreciate that when I woke up. Thank you.
You got it. So there you have your Rush Hour Reset. Coming up, the Vezina finalists were named yesterday, and there's a weird name on the list and a familiar name that isn't. That's next on 101 ESPN. We all like things that are exclusive to us and not everybody else, right? Well, Schnucks curates special savings in the Schnucks Rewards app just for you on the things that you buy most. Now, these aren't savings for Brooke or for Dan or for Matthew or for me. They're personalized savings only for you. All you have to do is tap the savings icon in the Schnucks Rewards app, and it's going to load all the personalized savings for the items that you buy most. And they change every week. Just clip the digital coupons and start saving. Personalized savings just for you and not for anybody else in the Schnucks Rewards app. And there's so much that Schnucks has going on. As a matter of fact, they've got the healthier Getting Active Club, and you can do that in the Schnucks Rewards app. And if you're looking to take a step forward in your health and wellness journey, Schnucks has a free health and wellness program called Healthier Habits that has tools to support a healthier lifestyle for you. It's all available in the Schnucks Rewards app. Download the app and get to Schnucks today. The NHL's Vezina finalists were named yesterday, and they are Connor Hellebuyck of Winnipeg, who should win the award, Thatcher Demko of Vancouver, and Sergei Bobrovsky of the Florida Panthers. Greg Wyshynski of ESPN tweets, Sergei Bobrovsky wasn't even the best goaltender on his own team in the regular season, let alone third best in the NHL. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Jordan Binnington was robbed here. And as you guys know, I don't like analytics unless they support my case. And what Greg Wyshynski writes is Binnington was third in the NHL in goals saved above expected behind Hellebuyck and Demko. He was sixth in save percentage versus expected. He was second in save percentage on scoring chances. Bobrovsky isn't even in the conversation analytically with Binnington, but he does have more wins.
Is that what it just comes down to with Bobrovsky, is the wins? And should that be a factor in that decision? Because, of course, I mean, the goaltender is a big part of your team winning, but should that be the part that really determines Vezina?
Isn't that what it always comes down to? Like when you talk about an MVP, are you the MVP for your team? Mm-hmm. Your team doesn't make the playoffs, and so the focus of those that vote are on teams that make the playoffs, despite the fact that you may be the best player on the ice night in and night out. And I think that was the case with Binnington.
Yep, and I think what happens here is NHL general managers vote on the Vezina. And as Doug Armstrong called them, they've got fancy numbers. I think general managers actually watch the games with their eyes to determine who they believe is the best. Analytically, if you watch Jordan Binnington every night, you would say, okay, he's among the best. But general managers might see him 4 times tops, maybe twice if you're in the Eastern Conference every year. They don't recognize, because they aren't using the fancy numbers, how valuable and how good Jordan Binnington was. But they look at the raw numbers and see Bobrovsky's wins and that he's with a team that's really, well, they didn't have a great season, but they're a great postseason team. And they probably looked last year at the postseason too. And there's a little bit that goes into the voting there. And that's why Bobrovsky is third. Would you like just another little tidbit of Binnington analytical numbers?
Sure.
That I have no idea what they mean, but I'm going to read them to you anyway. By CSA hockey numbers, Binnington, 28.77, was actually slightly ahead of Hellebuck, 27.24, and Demko, 19.5, in goals, saves above expected. And Bobrovsky was 17th at 9.40. Panthers backup Anthony Stolarz was 5th in that department. So Binnington, according to CSA Hockey, was the best goalie in the National Hockey League.
I love expected goals because you're always expecting a lot of goals. But Jordan Binnington, I think, to me, honestly, and I don't know how you guys feel about this, I feel like this was his best season since 2019. You can even look, if we are looking at some of the fancy numbers and stats, there's a lot that proves that as well. But this was a just completely solid year for him, fully healthy season for him, and he looked just exactly like he did in 2019 in a lot of situations. Now, the goalie tandem of Joel Hofer, adding that in, they were one of the best goalie tandems in all of the NHL this past season.
And they were playing behind a criminally deficient defense.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if some GMs don't look at the analytics on an opposing goaltender just a little bit. But I do agree with you, Randy. I think the majority of them go with the eye test, and they look at the Blues as a whole and think that this isn't a very good team. Why aren't they a very good team? Well, goaltending may be a part of it. Not this year. The goaltending was sensational, and, to me, he should have been in the top 3 looking at the Vezina Trophy. But I go back to team success, and when it comes to individual awards, I think they look at teams that are a little bit better than others, teams that make it to the playoffs, and that's one of the reasons that they vote these guys in.
And I saw some people bring this up on social media, and I think it's a fair question. I don't think that this factors into it, but I want to get your take on this. A lot of people brought up some of his antics that you've seen on the ice and off the ice with Jordan Binnington. Do you think that that's a factor into it? But really, this season, I felt like you didn't see any of that with Jordan Binnington.
I love it.
I personally love it.
I love it when he gets after guys.
Yeah, I do too.
I think it's entertaining. I think it's fun, and he plays with an edge.
And don't you think that general managers around the league, they see that competitiveness and they say, I'd like to have that on my team. I think people would love to trade for that.
Now, some guys might say, I love it, but then they may say that deep in their heart, but then they're like, oh, no, we can't have that with our guy. No, it's great. It's great for the game. It's entertainment. And you know what? It does help your team. I mean, think about how you protect your goaltender if you're a teammate. I mean, you're right in the middle of things, and sometimes that's a pick-me-up that you need.
He is. And Jordan Binnington, I know that with some of the antics, I just felt like this season you didn't see as much from it it with Jordan Binnington. I think that he's very aware of that, and he's matured a lot more, and it was just a great overall season for him. You could see that growth and maturity with him.
There's the key. That's the key word, is maturity. By the way, in the non-fancy numbers, Binnington was 36th in goals against at 2.84. Bobrovsky was at 2.37. Hellebuck was at 2.39. And in the all-important save percentage numbers, those guys were at the top of the list, although Stolarz was better. Hellebuck was 11th in save percentage at 921. Thatcher Demko, also one of the finalists, was 12th at 918. And then you have to go down a little bit. Bobrovsky was at 915, and then Binnington was 24th at 913. So he's not in the top 20 for both goals against and save percentage.
Would it shock you guys that analytics are as prevalent in hockey as they are in baseball?
It's unbelievable. It is.
Yeah.
They're all over the place in every sport. And in hockey, put them in throw their hat in the ring. They're as analytically as inclined as any other sport.
And if analytics were so great, then all these analytics people would be making billions of dollars gambling.
Probably right. That's a good point.
It's predictive analysis, right?
Yeah.
It's supposed to tell you what the players and the teams are going to do. Well, can't be that great because I'm still seeing these guys writing for $100,000 a year, $80,000 or $60,000 a year, rather than gambling and making $1 million a year.
That's a really good point.
Thank you.
That is. I don't even have any counter or anything
So
for
become
that.
a professional gambler if you're on an analytics team, is what you're saying.
If your predictive analysis works so darn good, yeah, let's put your money where your mouth is, literally.
Man, what happened to the human element of games?
Yeah, it's
just gone. It really is.
And you know what? The interesting thing, Dan, is that it's not gone in Texas with Bruce Bochy, and it wasn't gone in Houston with. And by the way, you look at, who could be more old school than Matthew Tkachuk? Or you look at a guy like Peter Laviolette winning, with the Rangers. It seems like old school people still have a tendency to do well.
I got to look at the roster too. Is how many young guys do I have? It seems like I'm more analytically based with them as opposed to my gut with veterans. It just seems to be different if you have a veteran-laden team.
Yep. Coming up, Jordan Walker is finally playing with the Memphis Redbirds. When and why do the Cardinals bring Walker back? That's next on 101 ESPN. Hey, if you are interested in a home improvement at your home, you should get in touch with my friends at Chesterfield Fence and Deck. A long time ago, we had our fence installed by Chesterfield Fence and Deck, a beautiful white vinyl fence, and it has been great for a long time. What they do for you is fashionable, it's durable, and it's very functional. And if you mention this show, mention Randy at Chesterfield Fence and Deck, get 20% off your next outdoor project with Chesterfield Fence and Deck. They have great trained craftsmen who take pride in their work, and they're all about being the very best in customer service and quality craftsmanship. If you get in touch with Chesterfield Fence and Deck by calling 800-300-4054 or find them on the web at chesterfieldfence.com, set up an appointment, and you can either head on out to their facility in Chesterfield Valley, or they'll come out to your house, provide you a free, no-obligation project design, and you'll love what they do for you. They're A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau. Everything has at least a 5-year labor warranty and comprehensive material warranties as well. Get in touch with Chesterfield Fence and Deck for your next outdoor project. again, at ChesterfieldFence.com, Chesterfield Fence and Deck, the sign, you have the very best.
This is Rocc here with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Cardinals have a doubleheader today. First pitch, 2:40 p.m. They face off against the Tigers. 5:40 p.m. is the first pitch for the second game. Cardinals did flip around their starters. Kyle Gibson will go in the first game today at 2:40, and then Steven Matz in the second game. If you want to jump on the Dobbs Tire Auto Center's podcast later today, you'll be able to listen to Randy, Danny, and Brooke talking over with new Missouri AD Laird Veatch. Again, always on the Dobbs Tire Auto Center's podcast on 101ESPN.com. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
One, two, three, four.
Every AAA series is a 6-game series, and so today the Cardinals' Memphis AAA team opens a 6-game series at Charlotte, and they'll play there today, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Every Monday is off in AAA, and then you play a 6-game series at home or on the road. So like next week, the Memphis Redbirds will be at home against New Orleans for 6, take a day off, and then they'll play Gwinnett for 6 at home, and then they go back out on the road. Jordan Walker has already played 1 game.
Hold on 1 second.
Yes.
That cuts down on travel.
Big time.
And that makes sense. Mm-hmm. My only concern is, what if you get in a base or a bench clearing brawl in game 1, and then it carries over to the next 5 days?
Oh, yeah.
So that's the only thing I'd be a little concerned about.
Action.
Yeah. That's my only thing I'd be concerned
Then there's
about.
more tension and excitement, Dan.
You got it. I love it. That'd be fun.
Okay, so here's my first question.
Not to interrupt you there.
No. I just think it's interesting with Jordan Walker playing down there, and he went in his first game down there. He went 1 for 4. Is Jordan Walker's return going to be based upon process or results, do you think?
How about a little bit of both? So if he gets results, I bet he gets confidence. And so that's something. I'm sure his confidence waned hitting 150 at this level. Mm-hmm. He'll get back with Howie Clark, who kind of turned him around last year. That's something that you have to consider. He's far from a finished product at the age of 21. And I'm sure that they have to convince him that is like, hey, man, you're here because we want to get you right. And when you get back right, you're going to be up in the big leagues. I also think it could be a product of how quickly do they need him back? You know, if the offense continues the way it goes and they get no production out of your outfielders, do you bring him back if he starts having success? And to your point, Randy, starts adhering to the process, which is part of the problem that he has right now.
I think it is more about the process, and it seems like also just a way to get his confidence back up. Now, what is the difference that you guys believe from last year when he was sent down to this year? I think one of the differences is obviously it was more about things defensively for him last year, but what is the other differences that you see between him being sent down this year and last year?
Well, I think they could have lived with his defense. If he was hitting, that was the main thing for me. If defensively he was just a total liability where anything hit out there he's not going to get, then, yeah, we got a real problem. But when he didn't hit and he's putting the ball on the ground and the game is predicated on getting the ball in the air and he's a big guy, that's a problem. And the other part is he's pulling off pitches. I mean, if you throw him middle outer half, he's chasing that, and he's got to make the adjustment to make sure that he doesn't do that.
It's kind of like the golf swing, isn't it? You have to maintain posture, and he wasn't doing that, and he just needs to become more consistent in the batter's box. I know it's a weird thing to say and to think about, but he needs to have, and by the way, not like Nolan Arenado's not running into this too. What you look like in the batter's box should be pretty consistent, and it's not with Walker.
And that's the thing, is that he just has to get back to that. He has to get back to the confidence, because you've talked about it, Dan, and it's true. The production in the outfield is not what it needs to be at this moment. And Dylan Carlson, by the way, starting his rehab assignment, where does he fit into this puzzle? You're getting a lot of these pieces back soon. You have Jordan Walker working down the minors. You have Dylan Carlson starting his rehab assignment. I haven't seen many updates on Tommy Edman, but I would assume that he would be back maybe later in the month, early June. You're getting some of those pieces together. How does this all sort out?
I think Siani goes down and Dylan Carlson's inserted right away into center field and plays every day and give him a run. Can't get any worse in the outfield. I mean, it can't get any worse.
No, I wonder, though, if they might send Fermin back down just so that they have Siani's defense available if they need it. But it's been a month since Dylan Carlson played, and he did get hurt, and he takes some time to come back. If I'm the Cardinals, again, they're about process more than production, but I want to see him get his timing back on his rehab stint before I bring him back.
And back to Jordan Walker, I've got to feel really confident that when he comes back that those issues have been taken care of, because you don't want him yo-yoing back and forth or yo-hoing back and forth. Yo-ho. Yeah, I mixed it in. That's got to be really careful aspect of what you do with him.
And that's why I think the Cardinals need to have the main thing be the main thing. And it's got to all be about baseball. A few years ago, the Cardinals sent out Colton Wong, and they had a Colton Wong Hawaiian shirt night coming up.
I remember this,
and magically, on the Friday that they were having Colton Wong Hawaiian shirt night, he came back that day. On June 6th, the Cardinals have Star Wars night at the ballpark, and lo and behold, you have a Jordan Walker bobblehead on Star Wars night. May the Force be with you as the Cards take on the Rockies at Star Wars night on June 6th. Fans who purchase a theme night ticket will get an exclusive Star Wars themed Jordan Sky Walker bobblehead. I can almost guarantee you that if the business side is in charge here, he'll be back for that game.
Oh, so, that would be a factor.
It was for, I don't know why it would change. It was for Wonger. Wonger was hitting about 160 when they brought him back. You have to be careful with this stuff. And if he's hitting 150 at AAA, you can't bring him back because you have the bobblehead that night. And we like his launch angle and his pitch selection better.
I'm with Brooke. You're not bringing him back for bobblehead night. You're bringing him back if he's hitting, let's say, 300 and driving the baseball and part of the process. I get what you're saying, Randy, but I think they stay away from that if he's producing at the minor league level.
The main thing has to be the main thing. Baseball. Hitting. It's got to be about baseball.
Oh, yeah. Hitting. Right? Get him back on track.
Yep.
I think some of this is dependent on how bad the outfield is going, let's say, in a month. You know, if he goes down there and figures it out in a month or 6 weeks, then I think he's back up here. But you got to be really careful with a young player going back and forth. Now, it's not to say that others haven't done it. It's been done. You know, we talked about it the other day. Keith Hernandez did it, went back and forth. Just remind him, hey, you're 21. It's a process to get back to the major leagues, and you will get back there. Let's just work on some things.
Communication is key. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, but communication is key there, to your point, Dan.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that they have, he sat down, Brooke, a couple of games. I think it was maybe 3 or 4 games just to kind of get away from things in terms of in-game action, got him on the side and, cleared his head a little bit. I think that's part of what's going on, too, is that this has gotten really fast on him. And it's like, uh-oh, here we go again. And for a 21-year-old, that's tough to handle.
You could tell he was pressing. Before he was sent down. I think that's really is what is going on here, and that's why I was saying confidence, just building that back up. And you heard from Ben, it's Ben Johnson, who's right down in Memphis. He talked about that. He really specifically focused on it, just building his confidence back up.
That's a main part of this thing between the ears.
Yeah. And by the way, 21-year-old Albert Pujols in his second year on May 1st, he only had a 968 OPS.
Yeah, but there's only one Albert.
Well, he could have been,
Let's
be honest.
could have been better than that.
Right. Good luck with that.
Just one last little point. When we were talking about the outfield and all the different guys who are coming back, I didn't even mention Victor Scott II. Is he even a part of these conversations? What do you need to see from him? It's going to be more production, right?
Oh, yeah.
Offensively?
I think putting the ball on the ground, using your legs, and finding a way to get on base. That would be my situation with him. He was hitting, 085 when he got sent down?
Yep, hitting 174. He is 4 for 23 at Memphis.
And I think we forget that he skipped all of AAA. And, he's got to make an adjustment down there before you even think about bringing him back up.
By the way, 174 batting average and a 174 on base, so he hasn't taken a walk yet.
Yikes.
Down there either.
Yikes.
So he needs to do that. Coming up on 101 ESPN, we've got Rocc and Roll, and we've got your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to the Budweiser Bash that features Tony Womack. It's coming your way on 101 ESPN. Hey, I want you to know about Fenton Bar and Grill. Yesterday we were talking about Meatloaf Mondays, and one of the people that's watching on YouTube talked about how went for the Meatloaf Monday with his fiance yesterday, and they loved the meatloaf. Said, tell everybody how great the meatloaf is. And we also had the best trashed wings that we'll ever have, and they are. At Fenton Bar and Grill, they're the best trashed wings that you will ever have. Go to Fenton Bar and Grill today. It's a beautiful day in St. Louis. Go to the best patio in town. Enjoy the company that you'll get from the feisty redhead Kelly, and say hi to Megan and Colleen and the gang. And enjoy some of the great food. The burger special, $6.99 burger with a side and a drink. And the gumbo on Thursday is fantastic, and they have great soups of the day every Monday through Wednesday. So you'll have a great time. The food will be great. The service will be great. You'll be talking sports with the other people there that are sports fans at the Fenton Bar and Grill. Hey, throughout the course of the afternoon and evening today, you'll be watching Cardinal baseball with the gang over at the Fenton Bar and Grill. You will love it. I do, and you will too. Learn more when you go to their website at FentonBarandGrill.com, and you have to try the trashed wings with the signature golden sauce. When you go, tell them Randy sent you.
I want to rock. And roll.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
Matthew Roccia will have rock and roll for us in just a moment. Brooke is here. Danny is here. I'm Randy. And 101 ESPN is your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to next Tuesday night's Budweiser Bash game. Cardinals and Mets. It's the next Bud Bash game of the 2024 campaign and includes a limited edition Tony Womack bobblehead. Get all the details on this season's series of Budweiser Bash Cardinals games now at cardinals.com/promotions. Or you can text in now with the answer to our little trivia question, and you can win. And if you are texter number 19, you can win the tickets. The number is 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO to win these Budweiser Bash tickets for the Cardinals and the Mets on May 7th. And here is today's question. And it goes to texter number 19. Okay? Tony Womack, who is going to be the Budweiser Bash guy next Tuesday, was with the Cardinals in 2004. That was the only year that he spent with the Cardinals. And he wore number 4. Yadier Molina came up and switched to number 4 the following year. But in that year that Tony Womack was here, what number did Yadier Molina wear? Texter number 19 gets the tickets to the Budweiser Bash. All right, Matthew, what do you got for us?
This is a baseball question I had that we didn't really get to for the Cardinals game today, and it's just kind of something I've been wondering, which is the Cardinals are going to have 3 games in under 24 hours. 2:40 today, 5:40 tonight, and then 12 something. I think is it 12:40 tomorrow?
Probably 12:40,
yeah. I think it might be 12:40 tomorrow. So I think their chances to win this series got worse when the game got rained out yesterday because of the biggest strength in this team right now is
the bullpen.
The very end. Those guys aren't going to be able to go probably more than 1 out of these 3 games now. And so I'm just wondering, are the Cardinals going to be in a little bit of trouble maybe late today or early tomorrow?
Well, you have to think about the doubleheader in particular, and can you bring Romero, Kittredge, Helsley if you have a lead in both games? And I'm not sure I know the answer to that. They're going to be very careful with Helsley. I think the other 2 you probably could, but I think they're going to be very careful with that.
I wouldn't be surprised if Gallegos was in the 9th inning with a lead in one of the games.
Yep, that's where I'm going with this.
Fernandez really just continues to step up. I think that's another bright spot for the bullpen. And we've talked at length about JoJo Romero, Andrew Kittredge, and Ryan Helsley. And for good reason. I mean, that trio is just absolutely lethal. Do we need to come up with a nickname for them?
I was just going to say that we do.
I saw your eyes. They got brighter, Randy, because you love a good nickname.
Yeah, we moved beyond the Holy Trinity, and so we'll come up with something.
Well, the Holy Trinity was also not that holy.
No, it wasn't.
It was not.
So yeah, we'll work on that.
We will.
We'll workshop this. Yes.
And what do you think went into the decision to flip the starters today?
Because you wanted to have a win in game 1, and that gave you the best chance to win.
Yeah.
Gibson can go deeper into the game.
Exactly. He's going to give you some innings.
Yeah. Doesn't hurt your bullpen as much.
That's
not trying to put that against Matz.
No, you're 100% right. I think that's the way you go, is that you sit there and say, this guy, good, bad, and different, is going to give us innings. Mm-hmm. And I also think they'll extend Kyle Gibson further, and he's going in game 1. And even if they're down, they would extend him further in the game just because you need to save your bullpen tonight and tomorrow. So it's a very good point, Brooke.
So I was just looking. We have a winner. We have a winner for the Bud Bash.
I thought you were about to say something, Randy.
No, I you want to give the winning what the answer was?
Sir, your question.
Yadi, when he came up, wore number 41. 41 was his number before he switched to number 4 for the 2005 season. And obviously, number 4 will never be worn by another Cardinal ever again.
Do you remember where he got his first hit?
I don't.
Pittsburgh,
PA.
And it was Ty Wigginton, I think, in that series that bowled him over in one of the hardest hits that Molina took in his entire career, blocking the plate. So he got his first hit, and then he got bowled over by Ty Wigginton.
Wow. Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else in the rock and roll?
Yes, one other thing, which is the antitrust case with college sports seems to be coming to a head. It hasn't been finalized yet. The big thing that everyone's saying is that this is going to lead to revenue sharing. That's kind of the big consensus right now. Is this case, when it gets settled, that's going to be the big kind of floodgate that's open. Something that jumped out to me in the article that's on ESPN right now. Sources indicated the top end revenue share number per school would be in the neighborhood of $20 million annually, although that's yet to be settled. Whatever number is set by the settlement, individual schools will be able to opt in to share revenue up to that number with their student athletes at their discretion. So essentially, they could choose to share less, but not more than that number. Texas A&M's athletic director Trev Alberts recently told the Byron College station Eagle that schools could be adding $15 million to $20 million to their budgets annually for what he termed a quote-unquote new expense category in college athletics. Is this? Are we starting to go in the right way to get this whole thing figured out with revenue sharing?
We are. And yesterday, UAB players voted to join athletes.org, which is a players association for college athletes. Every player on UAB, the entire roster, signed up for athletes.org, making them the first Division I football team to publicly join the players association. So the combination of what Matthew's talking about, revenue sharing, and basically a players union for college football players will, to me, solve a lot of the problems. I know that college presidents have not wanted to allow players to become employees, but that's where we're headed. But in terms of the transfer portal, this will be a good thing because Players Association in a union, Players Association members will be beholden to the team that they sign up with for as many years as the organization. All the teams have to do, they're not schools anymore, they're teams, say, hey, our standard contract with the PA is a 3-year deal. And that way, if they want to use the transfer portal, they can do it after 3 years.
I think that the Players Association is a great idea. Now, the revenue sharing, I'm with you guys, but will the SEC and Big Ten play ball here?
And so, Matthew, help me out, because I want to follow up on Brooke's point. This is just Power 5? In terms of revenue sharing, like who's going to revenue share all the money? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, that's a good question.
This is the article references just the NCAA as a whole.
And this is NCAA sharing revenue with athletes.
With athletes, okay.
Yeah.
So, it's the House versus the NCAA.
Yeah,
so it's the whole umbrella.
So it's the leaders of college sports. So it's the college presidents, which I would think would be all conferences, which includes everybody, would share revenue with all of Division I. That would be my
So Lindenwood is going to see some of this money?
They should, theoretically,
okay.
Yes. It'll probably be tiered, I would think, by conference, or at least FBS, FCS in football, things like that. But yeah, I would think that if you're a Division I athlete, you have something to look forward to financially. Yeah.
Interesting.
I think that's great. I think that's something that should happen. Anytime I hear revenue sharing, and I know that we're talking specifically about getting that back to the players, but I always wonder how in those conversations expand to revenue sharing amongst the conferences, what that will look like. Because the SEC and Big Ten will always push back on that.
And they're going to say, wait a minute, we're the ones that are generating all the money. We got the TV contracts, and why aren't we making more money?
I want to correct myself because the story does say the NCAA and its power conferences are the defendants in the antitrust class action lawsuit, House versus the NCAA. So it is the Power 5, actually now Power 4 in college football and Power 5 in college basketball.
It makes sense. I mean, they're the ones that are generating the money.
Right. So, sorry, Lindenwood.
You guys.
That's confusing. It's confusing wording.
It is.
If it's the NCAA and its power conferences, is that just their way of saying that the power conferences are at the head of this?
Well, they make all the money. Nobody else makes any money.
Well, that's true. And here's the one thing that the article very quickly threw out there and never once addressed again, which is how this is going to affect Title IX, which I still think is a huge thing that they haven't figured out yet. And that's still probably the next obstacle after this, which is how does this work with every other sport outside of the revenue generating sports?
Right.
Man, if only there was an entity like, I don't know, the NCAA that got ahead of all this, where they could have figured this out. That's a great concept, isn't it?
I don't know that that's something that the NCAA thinks about is the future.
Obviously not. Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, no. And now they're behind.
Hey, if you want to hear our interview with new Missouri Athletic Director Laird Veatch, you can do so. Just go to our website, 101ESPN.com, or use the app, and you can listen to our podcast brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Great job today by our producer, audio video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchio.
Pleasure.
Brooke, did you have fun today?
Of course.
Good. Danny Mack, great to have you back in the room.
Oh, thanks for having me. Always fun.
Fun. You're
absolutely
king. And we've got a balloon party coming up with T-Mac and Ajax. And then after that, we've got BK and Ferrario from 11 to 2. And then from 2 to 6, it's the Fast Lane with Anthony, Jamie, and Carrie. We thank you for tuning in.
And Marshy.
And Marshy.
Yeah, don't forget Marshy.
Won't forget Marshy. We thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the show. For all of us, until tomorrow morning at 7, have a great Taco Tuesday, St. Louis.
That's right.
Hey everyone, this is Brooke Ford, the Face and the Body Spa and Salon. Mother's Day is quickly approaching. Did you realize that it's coming up on May 12th? That is really soon, guys. And I have a way that you can win Mother's Day. That is a gift certificate to the Face and the Body Spa and Salon. To me, gift cards are not a cop-out. I know that a lot of people try to say, oh, gift cards are, that's not the right thing to do. It is, because then it takes the stress out for the mother in your life, the mom in your life, where she can decide what she wants to do with that gift card. And over at the Face and Body Spa and Salon, with 6 area locations, she can go to whatever is closer to her. And they really are just a one-stop shop for all things self-care. I went by their Brentwood location the other day, and it is massive. So with that gift card that you get her, she can get her nails done, she can get her hair done, she can get a facial massage. They also have a lot of med spa packages like laser hair removal, cool sculpting, and semaglutide shots. I know that those are really popular right now. So she gets